Chapter 954. Nana, take a set of your clothes and give it to Xiao Lan. After she transforms, she should have no clothes. Lu Yuan touched his nose and said softly. As soon as he said that, Evil Moon and the others knew why Lu Yuan asked them to turn around. I know. Listening to Lu Yuan's words, Helena nodded gently. With a wave of her hand, a set of clothes appeared in her hand. Helena had always loved gold, white, and pink. The dress she was holding now was white. According to Xiao Lan's identity as a deep-sea monster whale, after she transforms, a blue dress should be more suitable for her. However, only Ning Rongrong was wearing a blue dress here, and now Ning Rongrong was sleeping soundly. A white dress was not bad. With Xiao Lan's simple and somewhat silly personality, a white dress should be quite suitable. Helena hugged the white dress and walked over. At this moment, the resplendent light disappeared and Xiao Lan's figure finally appeared. At this time, the rustling of clothes came from behind. You're not allowed to peek. If anyone dares to peek, I'll put them in the cauldron and refine them. I'll roast them alive, especially fatty. If you dare to peek, I'll turn your chicken into roasted chicken. Lu Yuan's faint voice came out, and everyone could not help but tremble, especially Ma Hongjun, whose forehead was dripping with cold sweat. Turning a chicken into a roasted chicken scared him a little. Hee, Boss Yuan, don't worry. I'll never peek. Ma Hongjun chuckled. The others also nodded. They were not wretched men. They would not do such things as peeking. Ma Hongjun had the intention, but he did not have the guts to do it. That's more like it. Lu Yuan's expression eased a little. It did not matter how many girlfriends he had. It was a world where the strong were respected, and there were many wives and concubines. However, peeping was not something a normal man should do. People should at least have a bottom line. 2 minutes later, the rustling of clothes behind them gradually stopped. It was estimated that Xiao Lan should have changed her clothes. Ahum, you can all turn around now. Helena's soft voice rang in the ears of Lu Yuan and the others. Lu Yuan turned around, his double pupils slightly focused, and Xiao Lan's appearance was completely imprinted into his eyes. She was about 15 or 16 years old, with long blue hair that hung straight down to her waist. Her face was like jade, her skin was whiter than snow, her nose was tall and exquisite, and her small cherry lips were moist and dark red, suffused with a faint luster. Her willowy eyebrows were curved, and her clear blue eyes were blinking. She was exceptionally quick-witted, and her white dress added a pure and flawless temperament. She was truly a great beauty that was hard to find in this world. You're Xiao Lan? Looking at the pretty little girl in front of him, Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with surprise. He really didn't expect Xiao Lan to be so beautiful after transforming. She wasn't inferior to Helena, Zhu Zhuqing, and the others at all. Even compared to Wang Qiu'er and Chihiro Snow, she was only slightly inferior. Furthermore, Xiao Lan's pure and flawless temperament was very unique. To be honest, it made Lu Yuan's eyes light up. Brother Lu Yuan, Xiao Lan spoke softly. Her voice was crisp and pleasant to the ears. It was as clear as a spring in the mountains, and it unknowingly nourished one's heart. Xiao Lan's voice is so nice. Helena couldn't help but exclaim softly. It was her first time hearing a voice as clear as Xiao Lan's. It's indeed very nice. It's also my first time hearing a voice as clear and pleasant as Xiao Lan's. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. After being praised by Lu Yuan and Helena, Xiao Lan blushed a little. She was a little embarrassed, but her eyes were full of smiles. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. This little girl is very shy. Brother Lu Yuan. Xiao Lan took 2 steps forward and ran in front of Lu Yuan. Among everyone present, she was the closest to Lu Yuan. She was in her human form now, but she still liked to be close to Lu Yuan. Little girl. Lu Yuan smiled and gently rubbed Xiao Lan's head. Her blue hair was very soft, and there was even a little rustling. It felt good to the touch. After being rubbed by Lu Yuan, Xiao Lan immediately closed her eyes in comfort. There was a look of satisfaction on her face. You're my younger sister from now on. Lu Yuan smiled gently. From today onwards, he had another younger sister. Coincidentally, Both of his younger sisters were soul beasts. Ham. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Xiao Lan nodded his little head obediently and a smile bloomed on his little face. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Helena couldn't help but pout. She muttered softly, "You have another younger sister?" Including Wang Qiu and Ma Xiaodao, Xiao Lan was already the third. This fellow's ability to recognize his family is comparable to his ability to find a girlfriend. However, this is good too. Establishing a sibling status will prevent him from stealing what is supposed to protect. Don't think I don't know that Ma Xiaodao likes him. Helena snorted in her heart. Her eyes were sharp, and these things couldn't be hidden from her. However, this fellow still had some self-awareness. He knew to reject Ma Xiaodao and directly recognized her as his elder sister. Helena was very satisfied with Lu Yuan's actions. Although she wouldn't object if Lu Yuan really liked her, she naturally hoped that Lu Yuan would have fewer people in his harem. After all, she was also a woman. She also hoped that Lu Yuan would love her more. Did you all hear what I said? In the future, Xiao Lan will be my younger sister. If any of you dare to bully her, you should consider the consequences yourself. Lu Yuan said with a fake smile. We wouldn't dare. Your younger sister is our younger sister. We can't wait to spoil her. Who dares to bully her? Ling Wei hurriedly expressed his stance. After knowing Lu Yuan for so long, everyone knew that Lu Yuan was a siscon. Anyone who dared to bully his younger sister was tired of living. That's right. We can't wait to spoil her. As soon as Ling Wei finished speaking, everyone could not help but agree. Other than Evil Moon, the rest of them more or less understood Lu Yuan's character. That's more like it. Xiao Lan, remember these brothers and sisters. In the future, if there's anything you don't understand or if you encounter any trouble, just look for them. I'll see if they dare to not help. Lu Yuan stroked Xiao Lan's head and said gently, "Okay." Xiao Lan responded charmingly. She actually blinked her clear blue eyes and glanced at everyone one by one. In fact, she had seen many of the people here, but she wasn't familiar with all of them. Since Lu Yuan said so today, she naturally had to look at them again seriously. After all, Xiao Lan was a very obedient, well-behaved, and simple girl. She naturally wouldn't go against Lu Yuan's words. Chapter 955. Evil Moon and the rest felt their mouths twitch when they saw Xiao Lan's gaze sweep across them. They had heard that Lu Yuan was obsessed with his sister, and they had witnessed it today. His words were full of threats. Who would dare to not help him in the future? Furthermore, they had witnessed Xiao Lan's naivety. She was very pure, and the key was that she was very obedient. She would do whatever Lu Yuan told her to do. But then again, if they had a sister as pure, obedient, and cute as Xiao Lan, they would also dote on her like Lu Yuan. Let's go and see Xiao Bai and the rest. There's another one here for Xiao Bai. Lu Yuan said gently as he patted Xiao Lan's head. Okay. Xiao Lan replied obediently. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and held Xiao Lan's hand as they walked towards Xiao Bai and the rest. Lu Yuan and Xiao Lan stood by the circular seaside. Xiao Bai's eyes were fixed on Xiao Lan, and there was a look of astonishment in her eyes. This form transformation pill had really allowed Xiao Lan to transform. From what she could sense, Xiao Lan wasn't any different from a human other than the aura of a soul beast on its body. Immediately, the way she looked at Lu Yuan changed. This human's methods were too shocking. Speaking of form transformation pills, I have 2 left. I'm just not sure if you want them. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He shook his hand, and 2 form transformation pills appeared in his hand. Xiao Bai's eyes immediately widened. Of course I want them, Xiao Bai hurriedly replied. This form transformation pill wasn't just for her, it was also very useful for her daughter. It could freely transform between a human and a soul beast, and it could even cultivate at the same speed as a human. Which soul beast wouldn't be greedy for such a divine pill? If her daughter had to cultivate for tens of thousands of years to reach the 100,000-year level, with this form transformation pill, her cultivation speed would be comparable to a human's. Perhaps she would only need a few decades to become a titled Douluo, which was the 100,000-year level for soul beasts. Such an item was definitely a rare treasure. However, this thing is so precious. I'm afraid it won't be so easy to obtain, Little White thought to herself. It's good that you want it. As long as you do me a favor, I'll give these 2 transformation pills to you and your mother. Lu Yuan said with a smile. What is it? Little White asked cautiously. Could it be that Lu Yuan wanted it to do something that risked its life? If that was the case, then it would really have to hesitate. It's not difficult. Nana and the others' first test is almost over. The second test should be related to you, so please train them well. Don't go easy on them. Lu Yuan said. It's that simple? Little White asked in astonishment. It's that simple. Otherwise, do you think I would ask you to do something so difficult? Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. I really think so. I've misunderstood you. You're really a good person. Lil White sighed and said. You don't have to give me the good guy card. It feels weird, Lu Yuan said. Nice guy card? What's that? Little White's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. It's fine if you don't know, Lu Yuan said softly and threw out 2 transformation pills, which were swallowed by Little White and Little White. Nana, get a set of clothes for Little White. Little White doesn't need it. Lu Yuan shouted at Hulena. As a 100,000-year soul beast, Little Bai was already able to transform at will. Condensing a set of clothes was a small matter. The form transformation pill gave her a cultivation speed that was comparable to a human's. On the other hand, Little Bai would definitely be naked when it transformed for the first time, so it was necessary to prepare a set of clothes. I already said it's not called Little White. Don't you think this name is weird? Little White said snappily. Then what should we call it? Lu Yuan asked. Since it's going to transform, then let's give it a human name. What do you think of the name Bai Xiuxiu? Little White asked. Bai Xiuxiu? It's all right. It sounds better than your Little White. As expected, the sea god has no talent in naming, Lu Yuan said indifferently. You're not allowed to belittle the sea god. Little White protested loudly. Although Lu Yuan treated them very well and even gave them the transformation pill, they were definitely not allowed to belittle the sea god. Look at how anxious you are. Lu Yuan shook his head. Seeing the radiance on Little White's body, he immediately turned his head and pulled Little Blue to the side. Soon, Little White, oh no, Bai Xiuxiu also finished transforming. Compared to Xiao Lan, who was around 15 years old after her transformation, the current Bai Xiuxiu was only around 8 years old. She looked as delicate as a porcelain doll. Looking at Bai Xiuxiu, Lu Yuan's eyes turned and an idea arose in his mind. Little White, why don't we make a deal? Lu Yuan said. What deal? Little White looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. Let's arrange a marriage between Xiuxiu and my son. What do you think? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. You have a son. When did this happen? Why didn't we know? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Hulena and Zhu Zhuqing immediately stared at Lu Yuan with their eyes wide open. Could it be that this guy had an affair? And even left a child? One had to know that they didn't have a child yet. Thinking of this, the 2 men's gazes became unfriendly. Cough cough, not yet. But as long as you 2 work hard, you will have one in the future. Being stared at by the 2 cold eyes, Lu Yuan couldn't take it anymore. He coughed lightly and said, TSK, so you don't have a child. I thought you were extremely daring and dared to have an affair behind our backs and left some illegitimate child. Hulena curled her lips and said indifferently, What are you thinking? Am I that kind of person? Hearing this, Lu Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When had he ever not been honest with his girlfriend? Why would he need to have an affair? Why are you arranging a marriage when you're not even born yet? Zhu Zhuqing stared at Lu Yuan with her clear eyes and said unhappily, Ahum, not now, but sooner or later, there will be one. Moreover, such a cute and exquisite girl like Xiuxiu can't possibly be taken advantage of by some other family's little bastard. As a father, I have to worry more about my unborn son. Nowadays, Good girls are getting harder and harder to find. Hu Lena, Zhu Zhuqing, Xiao Bai, everyone. Hearing this, the whole place became silent. Hu Lena and the others' mouths twitched. They were slightly speechless. So you're really thinking too far ahead. You're even worrying about the next generation? But then again, this girl Xiaoxiao is really quite cute. She's just like a porcelain doll. Hu Lena looked at Bai Xiaoxiao and muttered in her heart. She suddenly felt that although Lu Yuan's plan was strange, it didn't seem to be completely unreasonable. Chapter 956. What do you think, Xiao Bai? Do you want to consider it? Lu Yuan touched his chin gently and said with a faint smile. Well. Xiao Bai frowned slightly and thought quietly. Xiao Bai, who had transformed into a human, was also a great beauty. Moreover, her figure was very hot. If it wasn't for Bai Xiaoxiao standing beside her, one wouldn't be able to tell that she was already a mother. Xiao Bai frowned and occasionally glanced at Lu Yuan. Obviously, she was weighing the pros and cons. Bai Xiaoxiao was her daughter. She doted on her a lot. Naturally, she wanted her to find a good husband in the future. If they were to arrange an infant marriage, the risk would be too great. No one knew what Lu Yuan's son would be like in the future. To be honest, she was a little worried. However, Lu Yuan had brought it up. Moreover, Lu Yuan treated them so well. She felt a little embarrassed to directly reject him. Moreover, if she could really become in-laws with Lu Yuan, she was actually very happy. After all, Lu Yuan's family was not ordinary. Everyone had the potential to become gods. Becoming in-laws with Lu Yuan was a climb for her. Therefore, Xiao Bai was actually feeling a little conflicted. Lu Yuan was the best at reading people's expressions. When he saw Xiao Bai's expression, he knew what Xiao Bai was worried about. He immediately smiled and said, "Why don't we settle down first? When my son is born, I'll bring him over for you to see. If you're not satisfied, we can break off the engagement." Really? Xiao Bai was delighted. Lu Yuan was willing to take a step back like this. Of course. When it comes to marriage, both parties have to be satisfied. We can't force a marriage, right? Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. I knew you were a good person. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Xiao Bai immediately revealed a smile and said sweetly, "Damn, you're giving me the good person card again." Lu Yuan shook his head with a bitter smile. No one had ever called him a good person like Xiao Bai. Although he wasn't a bad person, he definitely wasn't a good person either. He still had this much self-awareness. By the way, Abuchi, there are so many of us here. Whose son are you going to let be engaged to Susu? Helena's eyes turned as she asked in a sweet voice. Helena was quite satisfied with Bai Xiaoxiao. Bai Xiaoxiao was too delicate and cute. Although she was a soul beast, she didn't really care. Helena was quite open-minded. It would be good if such a girl could become her daughter-in-law. Yeah, that's a problem. As soon as Helena's voice fell, Zhu Zhuqing's gaze also fell on Lu Yuan. Her clear eyes stared straight at him. In her heart, she was also very satisfied with Bai Xiaoxiao. Moreover, her acceptance of soul beasts was higher than Helena's. In the past, Xiao Wu was also a 100,000-year soul beast. She was already familiar with it. It's very simple. Whoever gives birth to a son first will let their son be engaged to Susu. I've always been a fair person. It's up to you all whether you can live up to expectations. Lu Yuan spread his hands and said softly, "Then he will definitely be my first son." Helena raised her head and said with a face full of confidence. Now, Lu Yuan only doted on her. Who asked Zhu Zhuqing, Ning Rongrong, and the others to work hard to cultivate and complete the assessment? Unlike her, who was strong and could easily complete the assessment. Sure enough, the stronger one was, the better. You're the first. That's not necessarily true. Zhu Zhuqing sneered. Although her strength wasn't as good as Helena's, that was because of the age gap. However, when it came to giving birth, she didn't admit defeat. Hihi, Abuchi only dotes on me now. You don't have time to accompany him at all. You think you can get pregnant before me? That's impossible. Helena said with a face full of pride. Is that so? Ibuchi also accompanied you alone in Massacre City for more than a year. They were together every day, but you didn't get pregnant. Zhu Zhuqing said faintly. You can't blame me for that. That's Ibuchi's problem. Helena gritted her teeth and said. Lu Yuan. The flames of war had spread to him. As soon as these words came out, everyone's gaze shifted to Lu Yuan. Boss had so many girlfriends, but he actually had a problem in that area. They really didn't expect it. No wonder none of his girlfriends were pregnant. So it was because of this. Everyone came to a sudden realization. Being stared at by everyone, Lu Yuan's face gradually darkened. Helena, this girl, couldn't she say it more clearly? Was it because he couldn't do it? That was because of the special situation of his bloodline, okay? Helena. Lu Yuan's double pupils glared at Helena, and his voice came out from between his teeth. Being called by Lu Yuan like this, Helena's delicate body trembled, and a bad feeling welled up in her heart. She turned around and looked at Lu Yuan with an embarrassed expression. Oh no, she didn't say it clearly just now. Ibuchi was probably angry now. Cough cough, I didn't say it clearly just now. I have something to add. Helena began to frantically try to save herself. She explained everything about Lu Yuan's bloodline evolution and everything else. With that explanation, everyone finally understood what was going on. So it was because of the bloodline. It wasn't that Boss couldn't do it. On the contrary, Boss was very powerful. After explaining, Helena blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. Looking at Helena's pitiful appearance, Lu Yuan asked with a smile, from what you said just now, you really want a child, right? Hearing this, Helena nodded blankly. Then I'll fulfill your wish. As Lu Yuan spoke, he moved in front of Helena and pulled her into his arms. His right arm held her in place tightly. Zhuqing, you come too. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing, who had a cold expression but a trace of a smile in her eyes, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel angry. He reached out with his left hand and pulled Zhu Zhuqing into his embrace. Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but exclaim. Although she really wanted to be close to Lu Yuan, with so many people staring at her, she was really embarrassed with her thin skin. I still have to cultivate and prepare for the assessment. Zhu Zhuqing made her own struggle. Today, Lu Yuan obviously wanted to teach them a lesson. He definitely wouldn't be as gentle and pitiful as usual. If they were taken away by him, they definitely wouldn't be able to get out of bed tomorrow. You won't die if you miss the assessment for one day. Just accept your fate, Lu Yuan said coldly. Holding the two of them, his body moved, and he directly turned into a golden light and disappeared on the spot. As expected of Boss, he's really awesome. Ma Hongjun looked at Lu Yuan's back gradually disappearing with an envious expression on his face. He remembered that at the Great Arena of Souls in Soto City, Lu Yuan seemed to have also carried Chihiro Snow to get a room. Sure enough, an awesome life doesn't need to be explained. He's really a role model for my generation. Ma Hongjun thought and glanced at Oscar. Sure enough, Oscar also glanced over. The two of them thought of the same thing. Chapter 957. In the sky above the sea god's island, two balls of light, one blue and one gold, collided intensely, dispersing all the clouds in the sky. The golden light gradually dissipated, and Lu Yuan's figure was revealed. He was wearing the divine artifact Golden Dragon battle armor, and holding the super divine artifact Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear in his hand. Behind him, the god-tier external soul bone Icefire Dragon King's wings were slightly flapping, bringing with it waves of energy. Lu Yuan's figure gradually came to a halt as he stared across with his double pupils. The corner of his mouth could not help but curl into a smile. The blue light faded and Pasisi's figure appeared. She held a golden trident in her hand that was covered in faint demonic patterns. There was a diamond-shaped hole in the middle of the trident, which was where the sea god's heart was placed. TSK, I never thought that the sea god would make an exception and allow you to use the sea god's trident. However, it doesn't seem to be of any use. You're still no match for me. Lu Yuan could not help but chuckle softly as he looked at Pasisi, who was wearing a red royal robe and holding the sea god's trident in her hand. Pasisi's face darkened when she heard that. She had already borrowed divine power to reach the demigod realm. She had even used the sea god's trident under the sea god's instructions. However, she still could not gain any advantage over this little rascal. One had to know that this little rascal could not use his martial soul due to the restrictions of the test. Not being able to use his martial soul meant that his battle prowess was greatly weakened. Even so, not only was she unable to take down Lu Yuan, she even felt that it was difficult to resist him. Just how strong was this little rascal in front of her? What a freak! Pasisi could not help but be amazed. Lu Yuan's talent was unimaginably high. Although this guy liked to annoy her, there was nothing to be said about his talent. Even she could not help but admire him. It was just that she had never shown it. It's still too early to say whether I'm your match or not. Even if I can't defeat you, it won't be that easy for you to pass the second test. Pasisi stared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful blue eyes as she spoke. It was one thing to admire Lu Yuan's talent, but it was also true that she wanted to beat up Lu Yuan. Who asked this brat to anger her so much? She couldn't use her martial soul in this assessment, so this was probably her only chance to beat up Lu Yuan. If she couldn't beat him up now, this guy would be able to use his full strength when the assessment was over. At that time, she really wouldn't be his match. No way, it's just a test. There's no need to be so serious. You really aren't my opponent. I can still hold back now, but if the fight gets intense later and I accidentally injure you, it won't be good. Others will think that I'm bullying an old man. Lu Yuan shook his head and said nonchalantly, "Bastard, you're still talking." Hearing Lu Yuan call her old man again, Pasisi was furious. Usually, this guy would call Little White, 100,000-year soul beast, a great beauty when he saw her, but when he met her, he would call her old man and old beauty. Did she look that old? He really deserved a beating. Watch out for my trident. Pasisi shouted angrily. The sea god's trident shone brightly and pierced towards Lu Yuan's chest. Lu Yuan didn't dare to be negligent. Although he had a divine body, the sea god's trident was a supradivine tool. Although it lacked the sea god's heart, it was still a damaged supradivine tool with extraordinary power. He didn't dare to block it with his body. With a move of his hand, the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear stabbed out. The spear moved like wind and thunder. It arrived first and collided with the sea god's trident in Pasisi's hand. Bang! Suddenly, a boundless mighty force burst forth. Pasisi's figure was blasted back several hundred meters, and the jade-like hand holding the sea god's trident was numb from the shock. Lu Yuan, on the other hand, held the sea god's trident and looked at her with a smile. He's really a bull. Where did he get so much strength? Pasisi cursed secretly. If it wasn't for her profound soul power, the sea god's trident in her hand would have been sent flying. I thought that Tang Chen's clear sky hammer was the peak of a strength-type soul master. The combination of strength and skill was impossible to guard against, but compared to this guy in front of me, it really pales in comparison. Pasisi's expression was solemn. When Lu Yuan's power pressed down, it was like a towering mountain that was difficult to resist. Are you okay? Lu Yuan's voice came from afar. Of course I'm fine. Again, Pasisi gritted her teeth. Soul power burst out from her body, and the sea god's divine power burst out. She attacked Lu Yuan again. Interesting. I don't believe that I can't defeat you. Lu Yuan whispered softly. The Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear drew a strange trajectory. In the void, there were waves of sound. It was the sea god's 13 halberds. I'll use it to deal with you. Lu Yuan smiled gently. Pasisi's expression would be very interesting to see if she was defeated by the sea god's 13 halberds. With a move, Lu Yuan turned into a golden light and rushed towards Pasisi. Lu Yuan and Pasisi fought in the sky. Helena and the others were watching at the foot of the sea god's mountain. It was worth mentioning that they had just completed the test to pass the sea god's light. Unknowingly, another year had passed. Everyone was 1 year older. Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan, and the others were all 18 years old. With Lu Yuan's help and the tempering of the sea god's light, Zhu Juqing's soul power had risen to rank 69. She was only a step away from the bottleneck of rank 70. After Ning Rongrong consumed the origin pill, she cultivated for another 2 months and rose to rank 67. She was 2 ranks lower than Zhu Juqing, but she had finally caught up. Helena was a rank 76 soul sage. After absorbing her 7th soul ring, she rose another 2 ranks. As for the others, they had also improved by quite a bit. What's the situation above? I can't see clearly at all, Ning Rongrong said softly. In order to prevent damage to the sea god's island, Lu Yuan and Pasisi had risen to a height of 4,000 meters. Those who didn't have good eyesight wouldn't be able to see the situation. Even in the eyes of a soul emperor like Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan and Pasisi were just 2 blurry dots of light. Don't worry, Master is going to win. Pasisi isn't Master's match, the deep-sea demon whale king said softly. There was a trace of shock in his eyes. He had fought with Lu Yuan before, but after a year, Lu Yuan's fighting strength had risen to a height that he couldn't touch. He was able to suppress Pasisi without using his martial soul. This kind of strength was amazing. Really? I knew Ibuchi would win, Ning Rongrong said with a smile. In her eyes, Lu Yuan was an invincible existence. No one was his match. Helena and the others nodded inwardly. It seemed that they hadn't seen Lu Yuan lose before. The only person they had seen before wasn't here. Chapter 958. Ever since his debut, Lu Yuan had only lost once. That was also the only time Lu Yuan had encountered a life and death crisis. At that time, he was only a soul ancestor. He had encountered the Blood Emperor of the Holy Ghost Church and had almost died. It was only this time that Lu Yuan won every battle and never lost again. Apart from Jiu Yuana and the group of soul beasts, the only other person who had seen Lu Yuan's miserable state was Chihiro Snow. However, Chihiro Snow wasn't here right now. Is Big Brother going to win? Big Brother is so strong. Xiao Lan raised her head. Her long blue hair swayed gently as she blinked her clear blue eyes. She had a sweet smile on her face. She was pure, innocent, and youthful. Her entire being was filled with vitality. The deep-sea devil whale king stretched out his remaining right hand and gently stroked Xiao Lan's head with a trace of affection in his eyes. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. No matter how savage and cunning the deep-sea devil whale king was, he still loved Xiao Lan from the bottom of his heart. Otherwise, he wouldn't have personally run out to look for Xiao Lan after she went missing. Although he wasn't a soul beast, he was definitely a good husband and a good father. He still cared for his wife and daughter very much. This point could be seen from the original story where the demon empress didn't hesitate to become enemies with the entire continent to avenge him. If it weren't for the good relationship between husband and wife, the demon empress wouldn't have done this. I will die sooner or later. Since Sir wants me to be a sacrifice for someone else, then it must be true. Even if I can be resurrected, it will be a long time in the future. Xiao Lan is so pure, I can't be at ease. It would be great if she could follow Sir. The deep-sea devil whale king thought to himself as he stroked Xiao Lan's head. He had never trusted anyone from the sea god's island, but he trusted Lu Yuan. That day, Lu Yuan had spared his life because of Xiao Lan. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. How could he have the chance to be resurrected? With Lu Yuan's sentimental nature, if Xiao Lan were to follow him, he would definitely not mistreat Xiao Lan. If Xiao Lan can be together with my lord, based on how much he dotes on his woman, then I will truly be at ease. Although my lord is extremely good to Xiao Lan now, a little sister is still a little sister. I just feel that it's not a sure thing. The deep-sea demonic whale king looked at Lu Yuan who was fighting in the sky, and its eyes rolled as it thought of something. Xiao Lan, on the other hand, didn't notice it at all. How could someone as innocent as her think so much? As for Lu Yuan, he was even more clueless. He was still fighting with Pasisi. Sea God descends. Pasisi shouted and unleashed the power of the sea god to its peak. A huge shadow of the sea god appeared in the sky. It was thousands of feet tall, and people on the ground could see it clearly even though they were high up in the sky. Seeing this shadow of the sea god, the residents of the sea god island all fell to their knees and madly kowtowed. They were all the most loyal followers of the sea god. Interesting, the shadow of the sea god? It's that descending move again. Lu Yuan faintly smiled. He had once fought with the angel shadow, and now he was going to fight with the shadow of the sea god. I'll use the sea god's ultimate skill to play with you. 13th halberd, body and halberd as one, stellar transposition. Lu Yuan shouted and the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear shined brightly. A 5-clawed golden dragon shadow roared towards the sky, exuding a terrifying dragon might. Lu Yuan's figure changed, and he merged with the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear. Suddenly, the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear became larger. The originally 3-meter-long spear became 100 meters long. The spear light swallowed and spat out, bringing with it an extremely powerful might. Body and halberd as one, stellar transposition. Or it could be said that Lu Yuan's body and halberd as one. This was actually the last move of the sea god's 13 halberds, and it was also the strongest move of the 13 halberds. Lu Yuan had obtained this move a long time ago. Now that he had completed the sea god's 13 halberds, the power of this move had reached a new level. Among Lu Yuan's self-created soul skills, there was only one move that could compare with it. Its attack power was absolutely terrifying. The 100-meter-long Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear shot out. It was an ordinary 5-clawed golden dragon with a majestic might. Pasisi's expression turned solemn. He swung the sea god's trident heavily. The huge shadow of the sea god held the huge trident flickering with golden light in its hand and attacked the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear. Boom! The Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear and the huge trident shadow collided. Energy burst out high in the sky, and the void exploded, setting off a terrifying energy hurricane. Pa! A clear sound rang out. Under the attack of the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear, the trident phantasm was instantly shattered. The Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear advanced again and pierced through the sea god's shadow. The huge sea god's shadow collapsed into energy light spots that filled the sky. With the sea god's shadow broken, Pasisi immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale. He had obviously suffered a backlash and was seriously injured. He struggled to look at the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear that was about to pierce his eyes. His expression was slightly complicated. Then, a smile appeared on his pale face. That smile was very beautiful. When the Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear was about to pierce Pasisi's body, a golden light flashed. The 100-meter-long Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear disappeared. Lu Yuan's figure appeared again, holding the 3-meter-long Dragon Emperor Drain Spring Spear in his hand. Seeing Lu Yuan, Pasisi smiled. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something. Suddenly, his body trembled and fell down. Lu Yuan's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He flapped his dragon wings and flew out. He stretched out his left hand and caught Pasisi, holding him in his arms. I told you to admit defeat earlier. You just had to fight with me. Now you know how powerful I am, right? Looking at the pale Pasisi, Lu Yuan said indifferently. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi was angry. He couldn't help coughing. You, cough cough. However, although he coughed, his eyes were still staring at Lu Yuan. Okay, don't be angry. I won't say any more. If I really made you angry, it would be my fault. Lu Yuan said, then closed his mouth and didn't speak again. Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan, then snorted and gently rested her head on Lu Yuan's shoulder. The two figures fell straight down. After a few minutes, the two people landed in front of the sea god's palace. The moment Lu Yuan landed, a voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. Second sea god's 3 tests completed. Reward, 10,000 years increase in the age of all soul rings, 1 god-bestowed soul ring. Another god-bestowed soul ring? Lu Yuan muttered softly. With this god-bestowed soul ring, Lu Yuan had 2 god-bestowed soul rings in his hands. The more god-bestowed soul rings, the better. Even if I don't use it, Cher and Rong Rong can use it. This god-bestowed soul ring is at least 100,000-year soul ring. It's still quite precious. Lu Yuan thought inwardly. Chapter 959. Lu Yuan had naturally thought about the soul rings of Helena and the rest. Helena's soul rings had already been decided. She only needed 2 more soul rings. Her 8th soul ring was a gift from God, and her 9th soul ring could be from a powerful spiritual type soul beast, such as the Evil Eye Tyrant King. After all, it was a soul beast from the Sun-Moon continent, and didn't have much to do with Gu Yuana. It wouldn't be a bad idea to use it as Helena's 9th soul ring. He rarely hunted soul beasts, but if Helena needed one, he would kill it. After all, the Evil Eye Tyrant King was very suitable for Helena. Furthermore, it was from the Sun-Moon continent. It wouldn't be a burden for him to kill it. Before the laws of heaven and earth changed, killing soul beasts was something that couldn't be avoided. As for whether they were evil or not, that was secondary. He only hunted them because he needed them. Killing only evil soul beasts was just a cover for his actions. For example, the deep-sea devil whale king. If it hadn't provoked Lu Yuan wouldn't have bothered with it. However, Lu Yuan wanted to kill it. Apart from the fact that it had provoked Lu Yuan, it was also because Lu Yuan wanted that million-year soul ring and soul bone. Lu Yuan had never denied this point. The deep-sea devil whale king's soul ring might not be necessary for him, but it was very suitable for Bibidon. Furthermore, the deep-sea devil whale king wanted to eat him, so Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't let it go. The logic was that simple. Lu Yuan wasn't a saint. He didn't attack soul beasts from the Great Star Do Forest because of his bloodline, and also because of Gu Yuana and Wang Qiu. Soul beasts devoured each other, let alone humans and soul beasts. Lu Yuan and Gu Yuana's focus was on the soul beasts as a whole. As long as their species wasn't destroyed, they could rise. They didn't care if a soul beast died. This was Lu Yuan's truest thought. Or rather, this was the typical thinking of those in power. For example, wouldn't people die if they were to unify the continent? Naturally, there would be. However, after unification, the people of the entire continent would be able to live better lives. That was why some pain didn't matter. What was important was the whole, not the parts. He had to admit that as his status grew higher, Lu Yuan's thinking had also changed a lot. Apart from Helena, Zhu Zhuqing's 7th soul ring should be a god-bestowed soul ring. Her 8th soul ring should be the evil demon tiger whale king, and her 9th soul ring should be the deep-sea devil whale king. However, the deep-sea devil whale king had been given to Bibidon, so Zhu Zhuqing's 9th soul ring should be a god-bestowed soul ring. Therefore, Lu Yuan would definitely leave one of the 2 god-bestowed soul rings for Zhu Zhuqing. As for Chihiro Snow, she already had a god-bestowed soul ring, so her 8th soul ring wasn't a problem. As for her 9th soul ring, she might need another god-bestowed soul ring. Moreover, Chihiro Snow might need a 2nd martial soul, so her need for a soul ring would be even greater. Furthermore, Ning Rongrong was still missing 3 soul rings, so the 2 god-bestowed soul rings in her hands weren't enough. Therefore, the saying that the more god-bestowed soul rings, the better, wasn't wrong. With a light wave of his right hand, he put away the Dragon Emperor draining spring spear, while his left hand was still wrapped around Pasisi's waist. "Can you stand by yourself?" Lu Yuan asked softly. However, when he saw Pasisi's deathly pale face, his tone suddenly changed. "Forget it, I'll carry you in. Give me the sea god's trident, it should be a bit heavy," Lu Yuan said as he took the sea god's trident from Pasisi's hands. 108,000 jin, the weight is all right. Lu Yuan lightly weighed it, raised his eyebrows, and said. Seeing Lu Yuan take the sea god's trident and carry it in his hands as if he didn't feel any weight at all, the corner of Pasisi's eyes couldn't help but twitch slightly. If she hadn't obtained the sea god's permission to reduce the weight of such a heavy sea god's trident to 1%, which was only 108,000 jin, she wouldn't be able to use it at all. However, in Lu Yuan's hands, this 108,000 jin sea god's trident seemed to be like a fire stick, as it didn't have any weight at all. Pasisi couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Lu Yuan was really abnormal, she didn't know what level his strength had reached. "Let's go." With Pasisi in his left hand and the sea god's trident in his right hand, Lu Yuan directly walked into the sea god's palace. After placing Pasisi on the futon, Lu Yuan inserted the sea god's trident back into the stone platform. It was strange to say that the originally golden sea god's trident quickly dimmed after it was inserted into the stone platform, and became ugly. It had to be said that as a supra-divine tool, the sea god's trident had its own strange aspects. After putting the sea god's trident back, Lu Yuan pulled a futon and sat opposite Pasisi. It wasn't the first time he had come to the sea god's palace, and he was already very familiar with it. Ever since he passed all the sea god's light, he had obtained the right to freely enter and exit the sea god's palace. "Come, I'll heal you." Looking at Pasisi opposite him, Lu Yuan said lightly. "Sorry to trouble you," Pasisi said softly. "There's no need for that. After all, I was the one who injured you." Lu Yuan said softly. A white light shone from his right hand, and the clear qi divine power enveloped Pasisi's body, helping her quickly heal her injuries. The collapse of the sea god's shadow caused Pasisi's injuries to be not light, but the clear qi divine power had a miraculous effect on healing. Under the effect of the clear qi divine power, the injuries on Pasisi's body were more or less healed in the time it took to brew a cup of tea. After her injuries were more or less healed, Pasisi's spirit naturally recovered quickly, and her pale face became rosy again. "What kind of power is this? I feel that the quality is higher than the sea god's divine power in my body." Feeling the white light enveloping her body, Pasisi asked softly with a trace of shock in her eyes. "This is the clear qi divine power," Lu Yuan said lightly, and withdrew his right hand, withdrawing the clear qi divine power back into his body. Pasisi's injuries were completely healed. "Clear qi divine power? Is this the power of the divine king's inheritance that you received?" Pasisi asked curiously. "You can say so," Lu Yuan replied. The clear qi divine seed was also considered the inheritance of the divine rule, so it wasn't wrong to say so. "Then why didn't you use this power to fight against the enemy just now?" Pasisi asked. Lu Yuan looked at Pasisi with amusement and said, "You weren't my opponent to begin with. If I used the clear qi divine power, would you lose even more miserably? If I added the clear qi divine power to that attack just now, you would have been dead. Don't you know what your level is? You." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi's anger was stirred up again. Originally, she was very happy to see Lu Yuan heal her, but after these two sentences, Pasisi couldn't help but be angry again. Chapter 960. Can't you speak properly? Why do you have to mock me? Pasisi glared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful blue eyes as she spoke unhappily. This guy was really too hateful. How could there be such an infuriating brat in the world? Just a few words from him could make her angry. She thought that her temperament was top-notch. However, when she met Lu Yuan, her temperament was completely destroyed. Whatever tranquil and graceful appearance had completely disappeared. At this moment, seeing how infuriating Lu Yuan was, she really couldn't hold it in anymore. "You're really angry. Sigh, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. You can't even tell the truth these days." Lu Yuan sighed softly with a regretful expression. He lamented the fact that public morals were deteriorating day by day. Seeing this scene, Pasisi secretly gritted her teeth and looked at Lu Yuan with an indignant expression. "Are your injuries healed?" Lu Yuan asked softly. "You're the one who healed them. Don't you know?" Pasisi retorted. "I can only make a rough estimate. I'm not sure if I've fully recovered. After all, you're the one who's injured, not me. I can't use my spiritual energy to probe, nor can I touch your body, right?" Lu Yuan spread his hands and said innocently. "Bah, what are you talking about, you little brat?" Pasisi spat, her face slightly red. How could this guy dare to say anything? "What did I say? Is there anything wrong?" Lu Yuan was confused. Was there anything wrong with what he said? Could he touch her body? Bastard. Pasisi scolded softly. This little brat was still pretending to be ignorant. "Why are you being a bastard again? Why do you like to scold people so much? You're the high priestess of the sea god's island with this kind of character." Lu Yuan shook his head with a look of disdain. "Bastard, I think you're looking for a beating." Pasisi said as she raised her hand to slap Lu Yuan. Wait. Lu Yuan stopped him. What? Scared? Pasisi sneered. You think I'm afraid of you? Don't forget who was the one who was injured just now. Furthermore, this is the Sea God's palace. Are you sure you want to fight in the Sea God's palace, in front of the Sea God's palace, the Lord Sea God that you respect the most? Lu Yuan said softly. Pasisi's face stiffened. Not to mention that he couldn't win, the most important thing was that he couldn't even attack. No matter how bold she was, she wouldn't dare to fight in the Sea God's palace. If she destroyed the Sea God's palace, she would become a sinner of the Sea God's island. Thinking about it, Pasisi couldn't help but glare at Lu Yuan fiercely. This little bastard was fearless because of this. Sure enough, he was a little bastard. He had some crooked ideas. Pasisi withdrew his hand and sat upright on the praying mat. That's right. It's not good to fight and kill. Don't think about hitting people for no reason. A gentleman uses his mouth, not his fists. Lu Yuan smiled when he saw Pasisi withdraw his hand. Is that so? I'm not a gentleman. I'm a woman. I don't like to use my mouth. I only like to use my fists. Pasisi said indifferently. She couldn't win against Lu Yuan with her mouth, so she could only use her fists. Although she couldn't win against him with her fist. A gentleman can also be a lady. Weren't you very good in the past? You were graceful and magnanimous. Look at you now. It's hard to explain in a few words. Lu Yuan shook his head with a look of pity. Pasisi? Did she want to be like this? Who made her angry? Didn't she want to be a lady? Wasn't it because someone was too infuriating? Now, the culprit had the nerve to criticize her. Let's not talk about whether I'm a lady or not. You're really cheap, Pasisi said through gritted teeth. Is that so? Many people say that. Lu Yuan touched his chin and chuckled softly. Pasisi, she almost forgot that this guy was shameless and thick-skinned. No matter how she scolded him, it would be a waste of her saliva. This guy didn't care at all. Your God-given soul ring. Here. Scram. I'm annoyed when I see you. Pasisi waved her hand, and a golden bead appeared in her hand. She tossed it lightly, and the golden bead flew toward Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan reached out and caught it. With a flip of his palm, he kept it in his star ring. Seeing that Lu Yuan was still sitting on the futon without moving, Pasisi couldn't help but scold him softly. Why aren't you scramming? Do I have to scram just because you told me to? Am I someone you can order around? I'm not going to scram. What can you do to me? As Lu Yuan spoke, he pulled another futon over and placed it behind him. Then, he laid down directly. He had just fought a fight, and he was quite tired. Lying down like this, the futon was soft, and it felt great to the touch. Seeing that Lu Yuan actually laid down directly, Pasisi couldn't help but grit her teeth. She was indignant, but there was nothing she could do. She could only sulk secretly. Lu Yuan, on the other hand, was satisfied. He lay down and actually fell asleep. Seeing that Lu Yuan was sleeping soundly, Pasisi couldn't help but sigh. What a scoundrel. As she spoke, she shook her head gently and stood up. With a wave of her hand, she took out a royal robe and draped it over Lu Yuan's body. After sleeping for about 3 hours, Lu Yuan woke up. Looking at the royal robe on his body, Lu Yuan's expression was a little surprised. He sat up and looked at Pasisi. Yours. If it's not mine, then is it yours? Pasisi said faintly. Thank you. Lu Yuan smiled brightly. It was the first time she saw Lu Yuan smile so brightly. Pasisi couldn't help but be stunned. Then, she said faintly, you also know how to say thank you. Why didn't you continue to anger me? Sorry, I was just joking with you. I didn't mean any harm. Lu Yuan smiled softly. Naturally, he didn't have any ill intentions towards Pasisi. He was just bored. Seeing that Pasisi was a great beauty, he just teased her. This old habit of his was acting up again. However, he was just teasing her. He didn't have any other thoughts. As for Pasisi, she probably wouldn't have any ill intentions. After all, she liked Tang Chen. Lu Yuan thought to himself. This is called no malice. If there was malice, wouldn't I be angered to death? Pasisi glared at Lu Yuan angrily. Lu Yuan smiled awkwardly. His ability to anger people was really first class. Didn't Ning Fengji vomit blood because of him? At that time, he almost made Ning Rongrong turn against him. This was still fresh in his memory. Here, your clothes. Lu Yuan stepped forward and handed the royal robe to Pasisi. Pasisi stretched out her right hand and gently took it. There's something I want to tell you. Pasisi put away the royal robe and looked at Lu Yuan with a serious face. What's the matter? Looking at Pasisi's serious face, Lu Yuan couldn't help but become serious. Seeing that Pasisi was so serious, the matter must be very important. Immediately, Lu Yuan pricked up his ears and prepared to listen. Chapter 961. What I want to talk about is that form transformation pill of yours. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and said in a deep voice. Form transformation pill? Lu Yuan blinked. He roughly knew what Pasisi wanted to say. Yes, the form transformation pill. The effect of the form transformation pill that you refined is too heaven-defying. If it only allows a soul beast to transform into a human form, then it's not a big deal. However, it can also allow the soul beast to have the cultivation speed of a human. That's a little terrifying. Once a soul beast obtains the form transformation pill, it will break through to the 100,000-year level in an extremely short period of time. In addition, soul beasts have a long lifespan. They can live for a very long time, and the soul beast's power can be accumulated quickly. 1 or 2 soul beasts is nothing, but if there are hundreds or thousands of them, then it's a big deal. The soul beast's power is unprecedentedly strong, and it will be a great threat to humans. It may even affect the dominant position of humans. Under normal circumstances, gods cannot interfere with the lower realm. As long as there are no god-ranked experts among the soul beasts, gods cannot descend. In that case, if the soul beasts really develop to a terrifying stage, it will definitely be a huge disaster. Humans may even become like the ancient times, ruled by the soul beasts. Pasisi said in a serious voice. So you want to tell me not to casually distribute the form transformation pill? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. Yes. Pasisi nodded and said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His double pupils stared at Pasisi with a trace of admiration in his eyes. Why are you looking at me like that? Pasisi's eyes flashed as she was sized up by Lu Yuan. Her beautiful face was faintly burning. No one had ever stared at her as impudently as Lu Yuan. Because you're beautiful. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, Lu Yuan felt that something was wrong and quickly stopped. It didn't matter if he angered Pasisi, but he couldn't say such obvious provocative words. It was easy for people to misunderstand. But even if Lu Yuan braked in time, Pasisi still heard some of it. Her pretty face blushed, and her beautiful eyes couldn't help but glare at Lu Yuan, but she wasn't angry. Cough cough. After being glared at by Pasisi, Lu Yuan's expression became serious. He said, actually, the reason I looked at you just now was because I admired you. You really have great foresight. After refining the form transformation pill, other than myself, you are the first person to think about it. You are not like them. They are all amazed by the miraculous effects of the form transformation pill, but they have not discovered anything deeper. You've thought about this too? After being praised by Lu Yuan, Pasisi's pretty face couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile. Her beautiful eyes gazed at Lu Yuan as she asked softly. Of course, Lu Yuan said softly. He pulled the futon behind him and sat down in front of Pasisi. You don't think that I'm someone who only knows how to fight and not use my brain, do you? I'm not a blockhead like Tang Chen, who is very simple-minded. Lu Yuan said faintly. Indeed, Tang Chen is simple-minded. He's too blockhead. Pasisi said faintly. If Tang Chen had a little brain, she would have already been loved by now. Even Sendryu could understand the words, but Tang Chen couldn't understand them at all. In the past, she didn't think much of it, but now that she saw Lu Yuan's intelligence and wisdom, she cursed in her heart. Why was it that the same talent, the same indomitable spirit, and the same imposing manner, were so different in terms of brains. It was fine if he didn't know how to sweet talk, but he didn't even have basic emotional intelligence. Could it be that people who use hammers are born to be boorish? Pasisi thought to herself. Hehe, from your tone, there seems to be a story. Why do I feel that you have a grudge against Tang Chen? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. How is that possible? There's no such thing. Pasisi shook his head and said. You still don't want to admit it. You may be able to deceive others, but you definitely can't deceive me. I can see that you have a grudge against him in your heart. I heard that back then, Sendryu and Tang Chen confessed their love to you at the same time. You said that you would only fall in love with gods, but in the end, both of them left. Sendryu is an oracle and can never become a god. He knows that you don't like him, so he left. However, Tang Chen cultivated to become an ultimate Douluo on his own. He definitely has a chance to become a god. It's obvious that you have feelings for Tang Chen, but in the end, this idiot ran away on his own and really went to find a god's inheritance. I really don't know how his brain works. Lu Yuan shook his head and said calmly. Upon hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi was shocked and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. How do you know about what happened back then? Well, it's a secret. I can't tell you, Lu Yuan said with a mysterious expression. Of course, the truth was that he didn't know how to say it. Could he say that he had read the original work and knew about it? Not to mention whether Pasisi would believe him or not, that would be a little too stupid. Secret. You can't tell me? Pasisi's mouth twitched slightly, and he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. By the way, did you spend a long time with Tang Chen and the others back then? Did you fall in love with them after a long time? Lu Yuan asked curiously. No, actually, we didn't spend a lot of time together. All of it added up to less than 2 months. Pasisi shook his head and said. Then, how did you fall in love with Tang Chen? Lu Yuan asked. After our fight, I learned that he had become a limit Douluo through his own efforts, and I was filled with admiration for him. Also, the indomitable aura that he exuded when he fought was very captivating. I've never seen anyone as outstanding as him. Pasisi recalled and said with a fleeting gaze. Lu Yuan, why did he feel like a little girl who had fallen in love for the first time and was moved by an outstanding man? It was a little like Ning Rongrong. This girl fell in love with him when she saw his heroic appearance at the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. It was love that turned from worship to admiration. However, Ning Rongrong was different from Bai Sai. After she knew that she liked Lu Yuan, she started to pursue him. It took more than 4 years. She experienced a lot and sacrificed a lot. In the end, she managed to get Lu Yuan with a bunch of drugs. In comparison, Pasisi and Tang Chen had much less experience. It was love at first sight because of how outstanding he was. However, this kind of love at first sight was very fragile. Without other emotional experiences and tests, this kind of relationship could easily collapse when meeting someone more outstanding. There were many cases of love at first sight in this world, but very few of them could end up together. Lu Yuan fell in love with Chihiro Snow at first sight, but how much did he and Chihiro Snow go through to get to where they were today? They had gone through life and death tests. Without these tests, the so-called love at first sight alone was far from enough for a relationship. Chapter 962. For example, he and Hu Liena had developed feelings for each other over a long period of time. They had slept on the same bed for so many years, and that was how they developed their feelings for each other. Then there was Zhu Zhuqing. He saved the damsel in distress and took care of her. He also saw her body. Coupled with the long-term companionship, they were tightly connected and inseparable. He and Jiu Yuena were like-minded, had the same goal, attracted by each other's blood, and had a very good impression of each other. That was why they got together. As for Bibi Dong, there was no need to mention it. The difficulty for him to conquer Bibi Dong was greater than anyone else, and the emotional entanglements were even more indescribable. Therefore, when he heard that Pasisi liked Tang Chen so much, he suddenly felt that their relationship was very thin. In the original work, Pasisi had always been obsessed with Tang Chen. It was probably because she had never met anyone better than Tang Chen. The only person who was slightly more talented than Tang Chen was Tang San, and he was Tang Chen's great-grandson. Pasisi naturally would not be tempted. Oh no, I suddenly feel that I'm a little dangerous. Lu Yuan was shocked. Compared to Tang Chen, he was much more outstanding. In terms of talent and strength, he was far superior to Tang Chen. In terms of appearance, he was unparalleled in the world. In terms of bearing, he was indomitable and fearless. In terms of intelligence, he played Ning Fengji in the palm of his hand. As for sweet talk, he was also good at it. Otherwise, he would not have been able to find so many girlfriends. His charm was much greater than Tang Chen's. I can't tease Pasisi anymore. If she really likes me, I'm really done for. I originally thought that she liked Tang Chen, so it didn't matter if I made a joke. After all, we're all friends. Now it seems that it doesn't matter. It's a big problem. Lu Yuan's thoughts turned. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it made sense. He secretly made up his mind that he would never tease Pasisi again. He did not want to carry another love debt. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. As he thought about it, his expression became serious, and his entire temperament changed. If his temperament in the past was casual and lazy, then now it was dignified and upright. This sudden change in temperament made Pasisi look sideways. What was wrong with this rascal? What happened to you? Why does it feel a little different? Pasisi blinked and asked with some doubts. It's nothing. This is actually who I am. I'm actually a very serious person. Lu Yuan said with a serious face. Like hell I'll believe you. Stop pretending in front of me. We've known each other for a long time. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? Pasisi rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan. If this kid had been like this from the beginning, she would have believed him. But after getting along with him for a year, she had long figured out this kid's nature. He was casual about small things and serious about big things. He was arrogant in his heart, but he didn't put on airs when he was with his friends. Normally, he always had a lazy appearance, but when he was in battle, his will was extremely high. Although he looked calm on the outside, he was extremely dignified on the inside, and he meant what he said. As for now, there was nothing serious. Such a righteous appearance was obviously faked. Did he really think that she, Pasisi, was a fool? Usually, the reason why she was angry was because Lu Yuan's words were too harsh. She knew that Lu Yuan was joking, but she still couldn't control it. But even if Lu Yuan made her angry, she didn't really get angry in her heart. Just like Lu Yuan treated her as a friend, she also treated Lu Yuan as a friend that she could confide in. The strong were all lonely. They were actually the same. Lu Yuan didn't have many friends, and Pasisi naturally didn't have any friends either. However, as for whether this relationship would deteriorate, Lu Yuan definitely wouldn't, but Pasisi might. Lu Yuan had seen a lot of outstanding women, but Pasisi had seen very few outstanding men. Listening to Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. It seemed that his previous image had left a deep impression on Pasisi. But thinking about it, if there was a person who made him angry every day, then he must have a deep impression of him. It was human nature. Looking at Lu Yuan's twitching mouth, Pasisi smiled faintly and asked, "Now let's talk about business. Do you have a clue about the third test?" The third test. Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. The third test of the sea god was to comprehend the realm of spear soul. The time limit was 1 year. Now, he was still at the great perfection of spear intent. He was only 1 step away from the realm of spear soul, but it wasn't so easy to take this step. I don't have a clue for the time being, but I can break through in a year. Lu Yuan said softly. Well, if you need anything, just tell me. As long as I can help, I will help you. Pasisi said. Thank you. Lu Yuan said with a smile. No need, it's nothing. Pasisi said softly. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and stood up from the praying mat. He glanced at Pasisi and said, "Let's stop talking here. It's getting late. You were injured today. Although you've been cured, it's better for you to rest for a while. I'll take my leave first." Pasisi nodded gently. Let's go. Lu Yuan said softly. With his hands behind his back, he walked out of the sea god palace. Looking at Lu Yuan's back, Pasisi's eyes flickered. Immediately, her faint sigh came from the sea god palace. At the foot of the sea god mountain, in the ring-shaped sea, Helena and the others were undergoing their second test. They crossed the ring-shaped sea under the obstruction of the great white demon sharks. This test was quite difficult for Helena and the others. Ouch! A person flew out of the ring-shaped sea and screamed in midair. He landed right in front of Lu Yuan, who was going down the mountain, and kicked up a cloud of dust. Lu Yuan stretched out his right hand and waved it lightly, fanning away the dust in front of him. When he saw the person in front of him, the corner of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. Fatty, why is it you again? Hihi, it's Boss Yuan. Seeing Lu Yuan, Ma Hongjuan's big round face was a little embarrassed. However, the embarrassment on his face quickly turned into grievance. Boss Yuan, you don't know. Little White is too much. She specifically attacked me. Look at how swollen my handsome face is. Ma Hongjun pointed at the bruises on his face and complained to Lu Yuan about Little White's cruel behavior. She specifically attacked you. Is it because you're too wretched? Lu Yuan looked at Ma Hongjun with a strange expression. Although Little White also had a feisty personality, she wouldn't randomly target someone. It must be because Ma Hongjuan's wretched appearance made her unhappy. Ma Hongjun, he looked at Lu Yuan with a wronged expression. He had originally come to complain to Lu Yuan in high spirits, but Lu Yuan actually called him wretched. Chapter 963. Boss. Ma Hongjun had a bitter expression on his face, as if Lu Yuan's words had hurt his heart. All right, what are you pretending for? It's not like you've been wretched for a day or two, and you still want to pretend in front of me? Looking at Ma Hongjuan's bitter expression, Lu Yuan waved his hand in annoyance and said nonchalantly. Ning Rongrong also liked to make a bitter expression on his face, but when Ning Rongrong made such an expression, it was very delicate and touching, which could arouse Lu Yuan's desire to protect her. But when it was Ma Hongjun, he suddenly felt that letting this guy get beaten up by Xiao by 2 more times should be a very good thing. That fat, round face coupled with that bitter expression really made it hard for him to accept. Could it be that in Boss's impression of me, I'm only wretched? Ma Hongjun asked somewhat unwillingly. Of course not. Lu Yuan shook his head. Ma Hongjuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Sure enough, his image in Boss's eyes was still very lofty. But before he could be happy, Lu Yuan's words sounded again, making his face immediately stiffen like a frosted eggplant, wilting. In addition to being wretched, you're also lecherous, greedy, shameless, lazy, and so on. Lu Yuan said indifferently. So, I don't have any good points. Ma Hongjun said with a sad face. So, Lu Yuan had always seen him like this. For a moment, he felt somewhat cold in his heart. You also have good points. You're very loyal. Being brothers with you is a very good choice. Moreover, although you're lecherous, you're also very affectionate. If you fall in love with a woman, you'll definitely love her for a lifetime. Lu Yuan smiled, patted Ma Hongjuan's shoulder, and then walked forward. Boss. Ma Hongjuan's eyes flickered with tears. It turned out that Lu Yuan really understood him. He didn't recognize the wrong boss. A smile appeared on his face again, and he chased after Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan walked slowly, beside the ring-shaped sea. Only Xiaolan and Bai Xiuxiu, these 2 little girls, were there. The rest of the people were in the ring-shaped sea. Oh, no, there was also the deep-sea demon whale king hiding in the corner. Brother. Seeing Lu Yuan, Xiaolan's clear blue eyes immediately lit up, and a clear and pleasant voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears. Xiaolan quickly ran to Lu Yuan's side and stared at him with its big bright eyes. Lu Yuan smiled and gently stroked Xiaolan's soft blue hair, his eyes carrying a trace of gentleness. Lu Yuan was naturally very fond of this simple and adorable little sister of his. Lu Yuan gently rubbed Xiaolan's head, and a sweet smile appeared on Xiaolan's face. Her big eyes curved into beautiful crescents. Looks like Xiaolan really likes adults. Seeing this scene, The deep-sea monster Whale King sitting in a corner softly muttered, its eyes darting around as its mind spun. Lu Yuan naturally didn't know what the deep-sea demon Whale King was planning. He gently held Xiaolan's hand and walked towards the circular seaside. There, an 8-year-old cute little loli was staring at him with her big eyes. Xiao, come here. When Lu Yuan was about 2 meters away from Bai Xiao, he squatted down and waved at the little girl. Bai Xiao carefully sized up Lu Yuan and hesitated for a moment before slowly walking in front of Lu Yuan. Bai Xiao was very cute, but she was very pretty. When she grew up, she would probably be better than Xiaolan, and wouldn't lose out to Wang Qiu'er. Lu Yuan was naturally very fond of this little girl. After all, she was his chosen daughter-in-law. He stretched out his right hand and pinched Bai Xiao's cheeks. Her soft cheeks were very elastic. As Lu Yuan pinched her cheeks, the little girl stared at Lu Yuan with her big eyes. She pouted her lips and had a look of protest on her face. Coupled with her delicate little face, she was really adorable. Lu Yuan chuckled and gently patted the girl's head. This little girl had quite a personality. Interesting. Lu Yuan sat down on the circular seaside. Xiaolan was beside him, and he was holding a little girl in his arms as he watched the battle in the circular seaside. Fart. A series of water splashes could be heard. Evil Moon and the others were thrown out one by one. Finally, Hulena flew out in a parabola and landed beside Lu Yuan. She almost ate a mouthful of mud. Lu Yuan turned around, and Hulena happened to raise her head. Their eyes met, and there was a faint awkwardness in the air. Why didn't you catch me? Hulena felt a little embarrassed after being thrown so pathetically in front of Lu Yuan. However, to cover up her embarrassment, she rolled her eyes and took the initiative to make things difficult. Do you still need me to catch such a big person like you? Can't you see that I'm holding a little girl in my arms? How do I catch you? Lu Yuan said faintly. Mph, you'd rather hold a little girl than come to pick me up. You heartless bastard. Hulena gritted her teeth and scolded. Ahem, that's enough. Be careful. The little girl in my arms might be your daughter-in-law in the future. You've angered her now. If she's not filial in the future, don't blame me for not reminding you. If she talks to your son in the future and makes him alienate you, it will be interesting. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Upon hearing this, Hulena's face stiffened. How could she forget this? This little girl might be her daughter-in-law in the future. She and Lu Yuan had been working so hard recently. The possibility of being the first one to get pregnant was very high. What are you talking about? Bai Xiao stared at Lu Yuan with her big blue eyes. Her adorable face was filled with confusion. She could not understand what the two of them were talking about. However, her intuition told her that they weren't talking about anything good. Nothing. We mean that Xiao is really cute. We love you to death. Lu Yuan said with a smile as he pinched Bai Xiao's little face. Is that so? Bai Xiao slapped Lu Yuan's hand away with a look of disbelief on her little face. Of course, right Nana? Lu Yuan winked at Hulena. Yes, Xiao is really beautiful. We all love you. Come, let Auntie Nana hug you. Hulena got up and opened her arms to Bai Xiao. Bai Xiao was shocked. Instead, she snuggled even tighter into Lu Yuan's arms. Auntie Nana is dirty. Bai Xiao's childish voice rang out. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuan burst into laughter. Hulena's face stiffened. She looked down and saw that her white clothes were indeed covered in mud. Mixed with the water on her body, it was simply muddy. It was no wonder that Hulena despised it. This little girl loved to be clean. You're still laughing. Hulena raised her head and looked at the laughing Lu Yuan. Suddenly, she was furious. She pounced forward and hugged Lu Yuan from behind. She rubbed all the mud on her body onto Lu Yuan's back. Now you're as dirty as me. Hulena raised her head and said arrogantly. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. This woman. Chapter 964. After the realm of intent, it was the realm of soul. The so-called realm of soul had already transcended the mortal world and was not limited to weapons. Even if it was just grass, wood, bamboo, or stone, it could exert great power. The realm of soul gave weapons souls. It was the person who was powerful, not the weapon. Above the sea, Lu Yuan stood upright. He pointed his finger and the seawater gushed out crazily and condensed into a water spear. Lu Yuan grasped the air and his body exuded an inexplicable aura. He stabbed out with his spear. In an instant, the spear light crossed the sky and a blue spear aura that was thousands of feet long struck the sea. Suddenly, the seawater exploded, splashing up hundreds of meters. Where the spear aura fell, the seawater caved in and formed a huge whirlpool. The surrounding seawater poured in crazily, causing the entire sea to surge. Lu Yuan slightly retracted his strength. The water spear in his hand turned into seawater again and flowed into the sea. It seems that you have broken through to the realm of spear soul. The power of this spear is no less than the attack power of the Dragon Emperor Draining Spring Spear. A voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears. Lu Yuan turned around and saw Pasisi's graceful figure quietly appearing. I have to thank you for sparring with me every day. That's why I was able to break through smoothly. Thank you. Looking at Pasisi in front of him, Lu Yuan said softly. Why are you suddenly so polite to me? I'm really not used to it. Pasisi shook her head and said. I'm not being polite. I should thank you. After all, you've helped me so much. Lu Yuan said softly. Since you want to thank me, how do you want to repay me? You can't just thank me verbally, right? Poseidon asked softly, a hint of a smile in her eyes. How do you want me to thank you? Lu Yuan looked into Pasisi's eyes. As long as it doesn't violate my principles and is within the scope of my ability, I can do it as long as you say it. Well, let's not talk about it for the time being. Let's leave it for later. I have to think about it carefully. Pasisi's beautiful blue eyes flashed as she said softly. All right, it's up to you. Let me know when you've made up your mind. Lu Yuan said softly as he walked on the surface of the sea. Pasisi moved and followed beside Lu Yuan. Just now, I felt an unusual opportunity from your spear. Not only was it powerful, but it also had a spirituality. That spear light did not seem like a dead object, but more like it had a life of its own. Pasisi said softly as he walked. This is the special thing about the soul realm. In the hands of a soul realm expert, weapons are not dead objects, but living things. For example, just now, I could use water to condense a spear that was no weaker than the Dragon Emperor's Draining Spring Spear. A rank 98 Douluo can fight an ultimate Douluo after comprehending the soul realm. The power of the soul realm is beyond imagination. To me now, anything can be used as a spear. Unless it's a supra-divine weapon like the Dragon Emperor's Draining Spring Spear or other powerful divine weapons, the rest of the weapons are about the same to me. This is the power brought by one's realm. Lu Yuan said gently. Hearing this, Pasisi nodded gently. You've comprehended the soul realm. Has the reward for the third test been released? Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and asked. Don't you know? Lu Yuan looked at Pasisi in confusion. Didn't she always know about his reward for every test? I'm not sure. I didn't receive any notification from the sea god. Pasisi shook his head and said softly. Lu Yuan glanced at Pasisi and said indifferently, You've passed the sea god's third test. You're rewarded with 3 soul rings and the permanent right to use the sea god's light. What? Pasisi was shocked when he heard that. The permanent right to use the sea god's light? Wasn't the sea god's light exclusive to the sea god? How could it be given to others? Look. As if seeing Pasisi's surprise, the sea god's trident mark on Lu Yuan's forehead emitted a resplendent golden light. This golden light was dignified and sacred. Wherever the golden light enveloped, all the sea spirit beasts retreated. This was the real sea god's light. As for the one guarding the steps, it was only a semi-finished product. It's really the sea god's light. Seeing this scene, Pasisi couldn't help but exclaim. He didn't expect the sea god to really pass the right to use the sea god's light to Lu Yuan. I didn't lie to you, did I? Lu Yuan retracted the sea god's light and chuckled softly. You really didn't lie to me. Pasisi smiled bitterly and said, your 3 tests of the sea god are more like the inheritor of the sea god than Zhu Zhuqing's 9 tests of the sea god. She didn't get anything except the sea god's affinity. However, not only did you get the full set of the sea god's 13 halberds, but you also got the right to use the sea god's light. Why do you think the difference is so big? This. Lu Yuan was silent for a moment. He shouldn't be asking him this question. He should be asking the sea god. Actually, I've always thought highly of you as the inheritor of the sea god. The sea god's test and rewards also prove this point. To be honest, if I had to die for you in the last test, I would be willing to do so. However, if I ask myself now, I'm not willing to do so. A strange look flashed across Pasisi's eyes as he spoke plainly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan frowned slightly. He looked at Pasisi with his double pupils. There was a faint sharpness in his eyes. Don't tell me you want to attack Zhuqing in the 6th test. Don't forget what you told me back then. You said that you were willing, and I also said that I won't let you die. Even if you sacrifice yourself, I will revive you. But if you dare to do anything to Zhuqing, then don't blame me for not taking into account our relationship. Pasisi's body trembled when he heard this. His deep blue eyes stared closely at Lu Yuan. If I really do attack her, what do you want to do? Kill me? Lu Yuan raised his head and stared into Pasisi's eyes. His eyes were sharp and carried a faint killing intent. However, Pasisi didn't shrink back. He stared intensely back at Lu Yuan. After a long while, Lu Yuan shifted his gaze and said faintly, you are one of the few close friends I have. It can even be said that you are my best friend. You have helped me a lot, and I am very grateful to you. However, if you want to harm Zhuqing, I'm sorry, but I will definitely kill you. In my heart, I will never allow anyone to hurt my woman. I will kill whoever dares to touch her, and you are no exception. Lu Yuan's voice was very calm, but it was extremely firm, causing Pasisi's body to tremble slightly. A moment later, Pasisi regained her composure. Her red lips parted slightly as she said in an indifferent tone, I naturally won't go back on my word. Don't worry, I was just joking with you earlier. Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan. Her eyes were dark and unfathomable. She gently moved her feet and with a few flashes, Pasisi's figure disappeared. Chapter 965. Just a joke. Is it really just a joke? Lu Yuan's eyes flickered as he watched Pasisi's figure gradually disappear. Perhaps Pasisi hid it very well, but when Pasisi asked him that question, he really felt the murderous intent in Pasisi's heart. Although it disappeared in a flash, he did feel it. When Pasisi first arrived, she had already accepted her fate, and he didn't see her unwilling to accept it. But why, all of a sudden, had Poseidon changed his mind? Lu Yuan could clearly see that Pasisi was unwilling to accept it. However, after he said that, Pasisi seemed to have let it go, and didn't want to attack Zhu Zhuqing anymore. It was really strange. Even though Lu Yuan was extremely intelligent and scheming, he couldn't figure out what was going on with Pasisi. It's really hard to guess a woman's thoughts. No wonder there's a saying that a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Lu Yuan shook his head and rushed towards the shore. You're going back to the continent. At the foot of the sea god's mountain, Hu Lena, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ning Rongrong surrounded Lu Yuan with astonishment on their faces. Yes, I've been on the sea god's island for almost 2 years. I don't know how the continent is like now. Furthermore, I've been at rank 80 for a year and a half. I have to get my 8th soul ring. Nana is already at rank 79. If I don't work hard, she'll catch up to me. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Catch up to you? Forget it. I won't be able to catch up to you in this lifetime. You don't even know how strong you are now. Is your soul power rank that important to you? Hu Liena curled her lips and said snappily. It's quite important. If I can become a titled Douluo now, I can conquer the entire continent without any restrictions. No matter who is in front of me, I'll crush them all. But now, you can't do it now? Hu Lena asked. I can do it now, But it's just a little difficult. Lu Yuan said softly. What's so difficult about it? Is there anyone on the continent who can be your match? Even the deep-sea demonic whale king and senior Pasisi aren't your match, not to mention the others. I think even the beast god Di Tian, who is ranked first on the savage beast list, is far from being your match. Helena shook her head and said, That's right. But if I'm surrounded by people, for example, the deep-sea demonic whale king and Pasisi fighting me at the same time. The result? What's the result? Helena asked. In the end, I still won. Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. His current strength was not something that two demigods could deal with. With his demigod combat power and the newly comprehended spear soul, his strength had increased by a lot. He had reached an extremely high level. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Helena couldn't help but roll her eyes at Lu Yuan. This guy is still like this. Oh yes, speaking of senior Pasisi, I haven't seen her recently. And Ibuchi, didn't you often chat with her in the past? Why aren't you going now? Zhu Zhuqing's clear eyes blinked as she asked in confusion. Why not? Isn't it because you're a little stiff with her? Lu Yuan thought to himself, but he didn't say it out loud. Pasisi might have something to do recently. As for me, I'm going back to the continent soon, so I want to spend more time with you guys, Lu Yuan said softly. As for the fact that Pasisi once wanted to kill Zhu Zhuqing, he didn't say it out loud. Anyway, Pasisi didn't have such thoughts now, so there was no need to say it out loud to avoid unnecessary trouble. Really? Zhu Zhuqing didn't believe it. She always felt that it wasn't like that. Of course it's true. What else do you think? Lu Yuan asked back. I thought you and Pasisi had some conflict. Senior Pasisi is a good person. You should give in to her. Don't always make her angry. Zhu Zhuqing's clear voice sounded. She's a good person. A strange look flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. She once wanted to kill you, and you still say she's a good person? My sister Zhuqing, you should be more careful. Lu Yuan sighed inwardly. Yes, Senior Pasisi is indeed a good person. Ning Rongrong agreed softly. Rongrong is right. Senior Pasisi is indeed a good person. Ibuchi, since you're going back to the continent, you should at least tell Senior Pasisi. After all, you have such a good relationship. It's too much to leave without saying goodbye. Helena looked at Lu Yuan and said in a serious tone. I will. Lu Yuan nodded and said in a deep voice. With his relationship with Pasisi, it was indeed necessary to say goodbye. Sea God Palace. In front of the huge and majestic statue of the sea god, Pasisi was sitting cross-legged on a praying mat. Her beautiful eyes were slightly closed, and her breathing was steady and long. A series of footsteps sounded, and Lu Yuan's figure appeared behind Pasisi. Why are you here? Sensing the footsteps behind her, Pasisi said coldly. Can't I be here? Lu Yuan laughed softly. Pasisi was silent for a moment and did not answer. After a moment, she blinked and said indifferently, You can say what you want to say. Once you're done, leave. I don't want to see you. Is that so? Lu Yuan smiled and said, What a coincidence. I'm here to say goodbye. After I'm done, you really won't be able to see me anymore. You're leaving? Pasisi was shocked when she heard this. She quickly turned around and looked at Lu Yuan with her beautiful blue eyes. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. He found a praying mat and sat down in front of Pasisi. Where are you going? Pasisi asked after a moment of silence. Back to the continent. I want to get my 8th soul ring. Lu Yuan laughed softly. Is it dangerous? Pasisi asked softly. There was a trace of concern in her beautiful eyes. He didn't even take a fancy to a god-bestowed soul ring. She didn't know what the 8th soul ring Lu Yuan wanted was, but her intuition told her that it was definitely not a simple soul ring, so she was a little worried. Don't worry, it's not dangerous. I booked it in advance. Lu Yuan flashed a radiant smile. Pasisi was slightly absent-minded. Then, she quickly reacted and asked indifferently, Are you coming back after getting your 8th soul ring? I don't think so. I'm definitely going to stay on the continent. There are still things waiting for me to deal with there. Lu Yuan said. Then are you not worried about Zhu Zhuqing? If you don't come back, aren't you afraid that she will die in my hands? The sixth test is a life and death test. Pasisi asked with a deeper meaning. Chapter 966. I believe you won't do that, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Then you're wrong. I will definitely do that. Moreover, I won't show any mercy. She'll definitely die a horrible death. So you'd better kill me now. Otherwise, I'll definitely kill her, Pasisi said in a flat tone. However, her beautiful eyes were fixed on Lu Yuan as she stared at him. All right, don't lie to me. There's no killing intent in your eyes at all. I'm very sensitive to killing intent. You can't lie to me. Lu Yuan looked at Pasisi and said with a smile. Mph, who says I don't have killing intent? I'm just hiding it tightly. You can't find it. Now that you're here, I can only hide. Once you leave, I guarantee that Zhu Zhuqing will die a horrible death. Pasisi snorted and said. Hearing Pasisi's snort, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and glanced over. Is that so? Seeing this, Pasisi didn't back down. Her beautiful blue eyes also stared at Lu Yuan. Of course. Why? Have you decided to kill me after hearing what I said? Pasisi asked indifferently. There was a trace of confusion in the depths of her eyes. Hearing this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile bitterly. He looked at Pasisi and asked softly, You're still holding a grudge? Who's holding a grudge? What are you talking about? I don't understand. Pasisi said indifferently. All right, I know you're still holding a grudge. I know that what I said that day made you very unhappy, but you can't blame it all on me. Zhuqing and the others are my reverse scale. I'm very sensitive when it comes to them. That day, your eyes were filled with killing intent. It's hard for my emotions not to be agitated. Lu Yuan stared at Pasisi and said in a serious tone. So you're blaming me? Pasisi asked back. You are indeed at fault. Lu Yuan nodded affirmatively. Hearing this, Pasisi gently rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan, but some of the emotions in her eyes gradually disappeared. Instead, a somewhat complicated look surged in her eyes. Lu Yuan, do you know? I really don't want to die right now. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and said softly. Without waiting for Lu Yuan's response, she continued, I know that this is my destiny, and I accept it. I didn't care about this destiny in the past, but now I'm still not reconciled to it. I'm really not reconciled to it, you know? As she spoke, her eyes stared straight at Lu Yuan. I know. I can tell. I also said that I won't let you die. I will revive you. Facing Pasisi's gaze, Lu Yuan said softly. I don't believe you. You're not a god. How can you revive me? Pasisi said. Damn, I'm not a god now. I'll be a god one day. Do you think I won't be a god in this lifetime? Lu Yuan's mouth twitched, and he said angrily. With his talent, how could he not become a god? Of course you can become a god, but who knows if you'll still remember me when you become a god. After all, you'll already be a high and mighty divine king by then, and I'll just be a small character. Will you still care about me? Pasisi said faintly. Do I look like a heartless person to you? Lu Yuan said with amusement and anger. Yes. Pasisi glanced at Lu Yuan, nodded vigorously, and added, very much. Lu Yuan, if you weren't a woman, I would definitely beat you up now. How dare you doubt my character? Lu Yuan said with some indignation. Do you have such a thing as character? Pasisi asked with some doubt. Lu Yuan, is that how you see me? Lu Yuan's face darkened. What else? How should I see you? Pasisi said with a smile. Looking at Lu Yuan's dark face, she couldn't help but want to laugh. This guy had been angering her all this time, and finally, she had angered him for once. Pasisi was now satisfied, and she could finally vent her anger. Laugh, laugh, laugh. You only know how to laugh, hateful old woman. Lu Yuan curled his lips and said. What did you say? Pasisi's eyes suddenly flashed with anger. She hated it when Lu Yuan called her an old woman. Old woman. Lu Yuan said with a smile. You bastard, are you looking for a beating again? Pasisi picked up a futon and threw it at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan caught it and put it down gently. He looked at Pasisi with a smile. Okay, let's stop joking. Why should I stop joking just because you said so? Why should I listen to you? I want to continue. Bai Saishi picked up another futon and said in an unreasonable manner, unwilling to let him off the hook. Okay, I was wrong. I shouldn't have called you an old woman. Not only are you not old at all, you are also a great beauty with peerless beauty. I can't help but feel pity for you. Lu Yuan spread his hands and said helplessly. At least you have a good eye. In the end, you still said the truth. Pasisi said faintly and put down the futon in her hand. Listening to Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. Pasisi, you have changed. Are you still the Pasisi I know? How can you say such words? After Pasisi put down the futon, she looked at Lu Yuan and her eyes became serious again. When are you going to leave? Tomorrow, Lu Yuan said softly. Is it so urgent? Pasisi's eyes flickered slightly and said in a low voice. It's not urgent. I have been here for a long time. It's time for me to go back. Besides, I have already told you everything. Lu Yuan said softly. So you have arranged everything and came to see me at the end? Pasisi said faintly with a trace of inexplicable in her tone. I know you have been angry, so. Lu Yuan said with some embarrassment. Pasisi snorted and glared at Lu Yuan with dissatisfaction. She asked, so when will you be back? It's hard to say, but I will definitely be back. At the very least, I will be back during the Zhu Qing's 9th examination. I can't watch you die, right? At that time, I will keep your soul and revive you in the divine realm. Then, you will be able to enjoy immortality. Lu Yuan said with a chuckle. You will only be back during the 9th examination? Pasisi murmured as her eyes changed slightly. Do you have so many things to do in the continent? Pasisi asked. There are quite a lot of things to do. It's fine if I don't go back. If I go back, I will not be able to leave for a while. So, I will have to trouble you to help me take care of Zhu Qing and the others. Lu Yuan said softly. You want me to help you take care of Zhu Qing and the others? Pasisi had a strange expression. She had once wanted to kill Zhu Qing. Chapter 967. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded and said. Are you really not afraid that I will do something to her? Pasisi asked. I said that I believe in you. I won't misjudge people. Lu Yuan said softly. Hearing this, Pasisi's mouth rose slightly, and a touch of softness flashed in his eyes. Lu Yuan, how long have we known each other? How long? It's been a long time. I'm almost 19 this year. I first met you when I was 14 years old. It's been more than 4 years since then. Lu Yuan said faintly, with a look of reminiscence on his face. Yes, we've known each other for so long, and we've even been intimate for almost 2 years. Pasisi sighed faintly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's eyes changed slightly. He always felt that Pasisi's words seemed to have a deep meaning. He always had an ominous premonition. Do you still remember the scene when we first met? Pasisi asked. Of course I remember. You were the one who gave me a show of strength and saved my life. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but glare at Pasisi. Pasisi smiled awkwardly. Her lily-white hand gently stroked a strand of hair on her forehead. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty. She asked tentatively, You don't still blame me, do you? Lu Yuan glanced at Pasisi and said, I was a little upset at that time, but I didn't care too much. I didn't put that person in my eyes from beginning to end. He was just an ant that could be easily killed. Other than jumping around a bit, he didn't have any ability. As for now, I don't blame you. You're my best friend. I don't care about such a small matter. That's good. Actually, you know what? I regret it. If only I didn't take action at that time. Anyway, they have nothing to do with me. I've been worried that this matter would make you unhappy. Now it seems that I worried too much. Pasisi smiled gently, showing her ladylike temperament. Pasisi's smile was very gentle and beautiful. Even Lu Yuan couldn't help but stare at her. Pasisi's beauty was not to be underestimated, especially when compared to Bibidan's temperament. Both had their own merits. You look good when you smile, Lu Yuan praised. Really? You've always been so angry with me. I thought you thought I was ugly. Pasisi laughed. Then you've misunderstood me. It's because you're beautiful that I like to anger you. It's quite interesting to see you angry. I'm bored and want to relieve my boredom. If you were an ugly woman, I wouldn't even bother to look at you. Lu Yuan shrugged and said in a straightforward manner. You're honest, but you're mad at me because you're bored. Are you trying to relieve your boredom? Pasisi couldn't help raising his voice. Well, hihi. Lu Yuan smiled embarrassedly. Little bastard, you're really a little bastard. You always do things without reason. I really want to beat you up. Pasisi glared at Lu Yuan and said angrily. Lu Yuan was not annoyed. He chuckled. Seeing this, Pasisi rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan, but there was no trace of anger on her face. Pasisi looked at Lu Yuan and said nothing. After a while, she reached out and touched her cheek and asked, Tell me, am I really beautiful? Pasisi's tone had a hint of expectation. She wanted to get Lu Yuan's approval. Lu Yuan frowned. Pasisi's strange behavior was giving him a bad premonition. However, he couldn't not answer Pasisi's question, and he couldn't go against his conscience and lie. Facing Pasisi's gaze, Lu Yuan nodded and said with certainty, You're really beautiful. Out of all the people I know, only one can surpass you in terms of appearance. You're definitely the most beautiful woman in the world. Not only are you beautiful, but your temperament is also very moving. The person Lu Yuan was talking about who could surpass Pasisi was naturally Jiyu Yuana. Jiyu Yuana was the Douluo continent's #1 beauty, a perfect goddess. She was above almost everyone. Chihiro Snow was inferior to her in terms of temperament. Bibidon and Pasisi weren't inferior to her in terms of temperament, but they were slightly inferior in terms of appearance. Besides Jiyu Yuana, Pasisi was definitely one of the top beauties. Even Lu Yuan had to admit that Pasisi was more beautiful than Hu Lena and Zhu Zhuqing. Is that so? Pasisi was very happy to receive Lu Yuan's praise. Her charming face had a gentle smile, and her eyes were gentle. However, she was still very curious about the woman Lu Yuan was talking about who was more beautiful than her. Women were always competitive. When they heard someone say that someone was more beautiful than them, they would always be a little unconvinced. For a beauty like Pasisi, who was arrogant in her heart, it was even more so. Therefore, she raised her doubts. Jiyu Yuana, my fiancé. Lu Yuan said with a slight smile. Another fiancé. How many fiancés do you have? Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Pasisi asked somewhat anxiously. 6. Lu Yuan said. 6. Pasisi's voice couldn't help but raise a few octaves. I've always said that you're a bastard, but you're really a bastard. You're really a womanizer, Pasisi said somewhat angrily. Even if I'm a womanizer, it doesn't seem to have much to do with you. Why are you so angry? Lu Yuan said faintly. I'm angry for Zhu Zhuqing and the others. It's really not worth it for such an outstanding girl to be with a womanizer like you. Pasisi was first stunned, then said with a look of righteous indignation. Is that so? Lu Yuan asked indifferently. Of course. Pasisi's eyes slightly evaded as he said softly. I hope so. Lu Yuan sighed softly. From Pasisi's expression, he had already seen a lot of things. He stood up and sighed softly again. You're leaving? Pasisi asked. I've said everything that needs to be said. Lu Yuan said softly. You're leaving after you're done? Pasisi asked indifferently. If you're not leaving after you're done, are you going to stay here for dinner? Lu Yuan said in amusement. Pasisi was silent for a moment, then waved his hand. If you want to leave, then leave. Don't be an eyesore here. Hearing Pasisi's words, Lu Yuan shook his head slightly and walked out of the sea god palace. Lu Yuan. Pasisi's voice sounded. Lu Yuan's figure paused, and a faint voice sounded, "Is there anything else? If it's tomorrow, I won't see you off." Pasisi bit her red lips and said softly, "Got it." Lu Yuan nodded. Just as he was about to leave, Pasisi's voice sounded again. "Wait." Pasisi called out again. As the voice rang out, Lu Yuan, who was about to take a step forward, paused again. "Don't forget what you said," said Poseidon. "You still owe me something," she said. "Of course I won't forget. As long as you've thought it through, just say the word. As long as it doesn't go against my principles, I'll do it for you to the best of my ability." Lu Yuan didn't turn around, but his clear voice sounded. "That's good. You may leave," Pasisi said softly. Lu Yuan nodded and walked out of the sea god palace. Chapter 968. The sea was blue, and the sun was hanging high in the sky. The deep-sea magic whale king had already returned to its 800 to 900 meters long body. Lu Yuan was holding Xiaolan's hand and standing on its back. Compared to the so-called ship, the deep-sea magic whale king's speed was much faster. In addition, Helena and the others needed a ship to return, so Lu Yuan planned to let the deep-sea magic whale king carry them out to sea. "All right, go back, there's no need to send us off." Looking at the people on the shore, Lu Yuan waved his hand and said softly, "Abuchi, be careful on the road." Helena whispered softly, "Don't worry, with my strength, there's basically no one in the continent who can hurt me. But the few of you, you have to cultivate well on the sea god's island, understand?" Lu Yuan said with a serious expression. "Understood." Helena, Zhu, Ning and Rongrong nodded at the same time. "Ian, if you need any help, you can look for the Pasisi. I've already talked to her. Also, if you have nothing to do, you can talk to her more. She's actually quite lonely." Speaking of the Pasisi, Lu Yuan's tone paused. He wasn't a fool, and there were many things he could see very clearly. Especially after yesterday's discussion, he was even more certain of it. Although he was very surprised by this matter, it wasn't without any benefits. At least, after killing Tang Chen, he wouldn't have to worry about the consequences. He also wouldn't have to worry about a dispute with the Pasisi, or even a big fight. He definitely had to kill Tang Chen. If he didn't kill Tang Chen, he wouldn't be able to obtain the inheritance of the Azura god position. If he didn't obtain the inheritance of the Azura god position, he wouldn't be able to thoroughly comprehend the mysteries of the power of order. If he couldn't comprehend the mysteries of the power of order, it would affect his comprehension of the divine laws and become a god of laws. One had to know that becoming a god of laws was the most important part of Lu Yuan's victory over the divine realm. There couldn't be any accidents, so Tang Chen had to be killed. Furthermore, Tang Chen's surname was Tang, and he was a member of the Supreme Sky Sect. He was Xiao Chen's natural enemy. Regardless of whether it was for personal or public reasons, Xiao Chen had to kill Tang Chen. Originally, if Tang Chen died in his hands, it might cause his friendship with Pasisi to fall apart. If it was serious, it might even affect Zhu Zhuqing's inheritance of the sea god. But now, he wouldn't. He could do it without worry. To be honest, he actually cared a lot about his friendship with Pasisi. This was his first close friend. He really didn't have any strange thoughts from the beginning to the end. As for Pasisi, it was a long story. After all, he was too handsome, too outstanding, and too charming. After sighing inwardly for a while, Lu Yuan looked at Helena and the others and asked, "Do you remember what I said?" "Got it. Don't worry, we'll work hard on our cultivation. And Senior Pasisi, we'll also talk to her when we have time." Helena and the others didn't doubt him and readily agreed. "That's good. Then I'm leaving." Lu Yuan smiled and stepped on the back of the deep-sea magic whale king with his right foot. The deep-sea magic whale king immediately understood. Its tail swayed gently and it began to move forward. Lu Yuan didn't turn around. He just looked straight at Helena and the others. The deep-sea magic whale king was very fast. In a moment, it swam 2 miles away. This distance was already quite far. In the eyes of Helena and the others, Lu Yuan's figure had long been out of sight. The group also packed up and prepared to go back. But for Lu Yuan, this distance was as close as a stone's throw. Lu Yuan smiled. Seeing Helena and the others return, he also prepared to turn around. As he turned around, Lu Yuan's gaze swept across the area. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and his gaze shifted to the side. Suddenly, a pair of eyes met his across the air. Lu Yuan's body froze, and the two of them stared at each other. "You said you wouldn't come to see me off. In the end, you still came," Lu Yuan whispered. His eyes flashed as he looked at Pasisi, who was standing on the seaside. Pasisi was standing in a very remote place. There was a coconut tree next to her. If not for her eyes staring at Lu Yuan too directly, causing him to feel it, Lu Yuan really wouldn't have noticed her existence. "Did you notice?" A distance of 1 kilometer was nothing for Pasisi. She clearly saw Lu Yuan's movements. However, she didn't feel the slightest bit embarrassed. As for yesterday, she said she wouldn't see him off, but today she came to see him off. That didn't exist. She still had this much self-control. Except for Lu Yuan deliberately teasing her, there were very few things that could break her graceful demeanor. Therefore, not only did she not look back, but she also looked straight at Lu Yuan. Her beautiful blue eyes flickered. This woman. Lu Yuan touched his nose and smiled at Pasisi. Then, he turned his head helplessly. Sigh, there were always women coveting his body. Originally, there was Dugu Yang and Yi Lingling who didn't give up. Now, there was another one. However, there were 6 tigresses at home. Unless it was absolutely necessary, there were some things that he really didn't dare to do. He was still a little afraid of his wife. For example, a certain woman who threatened to stab him with a spider leg. Normally, he wasn't afraid of Bibidon. He even dared to bully her occasionally. However, it was different when he had a guilty conscience. Not to mention, Chihiro Snow was sharpening the angelic holy sword. Just thinking about it made his scalp tingle. Coward. Seeing Lu Yuan turn around just like that, Pasisi bitterly clenched her teeth. Her emotions were already obvious enough. In the end, Lu Yuan still turned a blind eye to it. It was simply infuriating. If it was Tang Chen who was stubborn, she believed that he wouldn't have noticed it. However, Lu Yuan was a monkey. He definitely noticed it. However, he didn't make a sound. Recalling that Lu Yuan once called her old woman, Pasisi's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. "Do you dislike me for being old? Then why did you still provoke me? If you didn't anger me and leave such a deep impression on me, I wouldn't. No one has ever angered me like this." Pasisi sighed softly. She was indeed shocked by Lu Yuan's talent, appearance, and even strength. However, the real reason that made her feel great waves was the simplest douqi. It gave her a wonderful feeling that she had never felt before. This feeling was very real and very unforgettable. "Sigh, why didn't you be born a generation earlier?" Pasisi sighed. Looking at Lu Yuan's back that was becoming more and more blurry, her beautiful eyes blinked slightly. A blue light flashed, and her figure suddenly disappeared. The sea surged. Lu Yuan and Xiao Lan stood side by side. The sea breeze blew their hair, and the salty smell of the sea assailed their nostrils. "Brother, you've been frowning. Are you unhappy about something? Tell Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan will help you solve it." Xiao Lan pulled Lu Yuan's sleeve and said softly, "You'll help me solve it." Looking at the innocent look on Xiao Lan's face, Lu Yuan could not help but have a strange smile on his face. Chapter 969. Yes, Xiao Lan is very smart. If Big Brother has any troubles, you can tell Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan will definitely try her best to help Big Brother solve it. Xiao Lan said charmingly. Xiao Lan is indeed very smart, but Big Brother's problem is very troublesome. You can't solve it. Seeing Xiao Lan's serious expression, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. His originally strange smile turned gentle. Xiao Lan really cared for him from the bottom of her heart. He couldn't hurt Xiao Lan's heart. "Big Brother, if you don't tell me, how do you know Xiao Lan can't solve it? Xiao Lan is very powerful. Big sister Nana and the others have praised Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan raised her little head and said proudly. Seeing Xiao Lan like this, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile and gently rubbed her little head. Xiao Lan's face showed a trace of enjoyment, but her pair of big blue eyes were still curiously looking at Lu Yuan. You really want to know? Lu Yuan's heart moved. Instead of hiding it in his heart, telling Xiao Lan might be a good choice. Yes, Xiao Lan wants to know. Xiao Lan wants to share Big Brother's worries. Xiao Lan said with a serious face. Then Big Brother will tell you, but you can't tell anyone. Lu Yuan said warmly. Xiao Lan promises not to tell anyone. Xiao Lan's voice was very clear, but it was full of determination. Lu Yuan smiled and waved his hand. An invisible aura covered his and Xiao Lan's body, ensuring that their conversation wouldn't be leaked. Lu Yuan didn't want his gossip to be known by the deep-sea demon whale king. Waving his hand, Lu Yuan looked at Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan also looked at Lu Yuan with a curious face. Xiao Lan, do you think Big Brother is good-looking? Lu Yuan asked softly. Big Brother is good-looking. Every time Xiao Lan looks at Big Brother, I feel very comfortable. Big sister Nana and the others like to stare at Big Brother when they have nothing to do. Xiao Lan said sweetly. Yes, Big Brother is too good-looking. There are always people who like Big Brother, so Big Brother is a little distressed. Lu Yuan casually opened his mouth and said something that was incomparably infuriating. Big Brother, are you talking about Big Sister Yang and Big Sister Lingling? They all like Big Brother very much, just like Big Sister Nana and the others, they all like to look at Big Brother. It's just that Big Sister Nana and the others look at him openly, but Big Sister Yang and Big Sister Lingling look at him secretly, Xiao Lan said. Oh. Little Lan is concerned about these things? Lu Yuan asked curiously. No, it's just that Xiao Lan also likes to look at Big Brother, so sometimes when I casually shift my gaze, I can see you. Xiao Lan said sweetly. Didn't Big Brother notice? Xiao Lan asked. Big Brother didn't really care. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Oh. Xiao Lan gave a soft "oh" and nodded. Little Lan, what do you think of Pasisi? Lu Yuan blinked and asked softly. Senior Pasisi is a very nice person. Why do you ask? The trouble that brother was talking about is her. Lu Yuan sighed and said. Does Senior Pasisi like Big Brother? Xiao Lan asked curiously. Yes, that's why Big Brother is very distressed. Lu Yuan said. Why is Big Brother distressed? Senior Pasisi likes Big Brother, isn't that good? Xiao Lan also likes Big Brother, is Big Brother also distressed? Xiao Lan asked puzzledly. Xiao Lan, you are different from her. The nature of your likes is different. Big Brother is very happy that you like Big Brother, but she likes Big Brother, so it's distressing. Lu Yuan said. Why? Xiao Lan frowned slightly. What's the difference? Looking at Xiao Lan's appearance, Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh in his heart. This appearance was very similar to Jiu Yuana in the past. He couldn't understand the meaning of like at all. A soul beast that had never been in love was ultimately too naive. Because Xiao Lan, your like is just to look at Big Brother, you like Big Brother to be close to you, you like Big Brother to pamper you, and you don't have any other thoughts, right? Xiao Lan nodded. But Pasisi's like is different. She wants to kiss Big Brother, and even wants to sleep with Big Brother. Lu Yuan sighed softly. Xiao Lan also wants to sleep with Big Brother, but Big Sister Nana and the others didn't let me. Xiao Lan said softly. There was a trace of indignation on her face, as if she was dissatisfied with Hu Lena, Zhu Zhuqing, and Ning Rongrong's obstruction. Lu Yuan, it had to be said that Xiao Lan's words were shocking, and Lu Yuan was really shocked. But looking at Xiao Lan's naive appearance, she probably didn't know what it meant to sleep together. Seeing Lu Yuan looking straight at her without saying a word, Xiao Lan couldn't help but ask doubtfully, Big Brother, why aren't you saying anything? Big Brother has nothing to say. Lu Yuan sighed and looked away. Xiao Lan didn't know anything, and if he continued talking, not only would it not solve his troubles, but it would also become more and more troublesome. He was really afraid that Xiao Lan would come up with some shocking words again. Seeing Lu Yuan look away, Xiao Lan pouted. Big Brother didn't keep his words and stopped halfway. Could it be that Big Brother was the same as Big Sister Nana and the others and didn't want Xiaolan to sleep with Big Brother? Xiaolan's big bright eyes darted around, and she felt that it must be so. Senior Pasisi wanted to sleep with Big Brother, so Big Brother was very troubled. Now that Xiaolan said the same thing, Big Brother must also be very troubled, so he didn't want to talk to Xiaolan anymore. Xiaolan's little head was spinning rapidly, and there was a trace of grievance in her eyes. Xiaolan didn't do anything wrong, so why didn't Big Brother and Big Sister Nana want Xiaolan to sleep with Big Brother? Xiaolan is angry, Xiaolan is unhappy. Xiaolan widened her eyes and looked at Lu Yuan angrily. At this moment, Lu Yuan was looking straight ahead with a calm expression. His hair danced in the wind, and his aura was fully displayed. Big Brother is really handsome. Xiaolan stared blankly at Lu Yuan's side profile, and for a moment, she was somewhat absent-minded. The little grievance in her heart instantly disappeared. No wonder Big Sister Nana and the others are always staring at Big Brother. Xiaolan thought to herself. Sir, where are we going now? Please tell us. On the coast, 4 figures appeared. It was Lu Yuan, Xiaolan, and the deep-sea monster whale king's group. The remaining person was Xiaolan's mother, the wife of the deep-sea monster whale king, a 200,000-year-old deep-sea monster whale. Lu Yuan gave her a name, Lan Yang. Lu Yuan's group was going to the continent, and the deep-sea monster whale king was a family soul beast. Naturally, he was worried about Lan Yang, so he went to look for her. In the beginning, Lan Yang had fought with Lu Yuan because of the deep-sea demonic whale king's broken arm and the sacrificial offering. In the end, it was needless to say. Lu Yuan pinned her down with one finger. Later, after the deep-sea monster whale king and Xiaolan's persuasion, she settled down and joined Lu Yuan's group. Where are we going? Naturally, we're going to the Great Star Doe Forest first. That's the holy land of soul beasts, and we can make arrangements for Lan Yang and Xiaolan. Otherwise, it's very dangerous for 2 soul beasts to run around the world. I'm sure you're very clear about that. Lu Yuan said plainly. Chapter 970. En. Listening to Lu Yuan's words, the deep-sea devil whale king nodded. He was naturally very clear about this point. The continent was not like the ocean. This was a human settlement, and a large number of soul masters would often appear. Lan Yang and Xiaolan might be fine in some low-level cities, but in some high-level cities, it was very likely that they would encounter a high-level soul master and be exposed, which was a very dangerous thing. Therefore, it was definitely not advisable to bring the 2 of them around the world. Sir is still very thoughtful. The deep-sea devil whale king said with a little respect. The deep-sea devil whale king was a very sensible soul beast. After being subdued by Lu Yuan, he was a lot more honest. In addition, Lu Yuan's strength was getting stronger and stronger, so the deep-sea devil whale king was becoming more and more respectful to Lu Yuan. It's just that you haven't been to the human world. It's your first time here, so it's inevitable that you'll overlook this. This is actually nothing. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said indifferently. Hiding one's identity, even if the deep-sea devil whale king and the others didn't think of it now, they would eventually think of it after wandering around the human world. It was really nothing. Okay, let's not delay anymore. Come with me, it's already late. Let's rest here for the night and go to the Great Star Doe Forest tomorrow. Lu Yuan said indifferently. Yes, sir. The deep-sea devil whale king softly replied. Oceanic City, in a high-class hotel, Lu Yuan was lying on the bed, holding a book in his hand, his eyes flashing slightly. Sigh. Thinking of Pasisi's figure, Lu Yuan sighed softly. Different from Dugu Yang and Yi Lingling, Pasisi's love really made him very vexed. Because his relationship with Pasisi was really good. The 2 of them talked about a lot of things and resonated in all aspects. Moreover, the 2 of them were in similar situations. They were the top experts in the world, had a high position, few friends, and were lonely in their hearts. Lu Yuan originally thought that he had found a true friend, but he didn't expect Pasisi to be moved by him. I treated you as a friend, but you wanted to sleep with me. Lu Yuan's expression was slightly strange. He sighed softly. Is there really no pure friendship between men and women? But it's also my fault. Why would I anger you when I have nothing better to do? Perhaps in your eyes, this isn't anger, but provocation. If I didn't anger you, you wouldn't have been tempted so easily. But then again, if you don't like me, I really can't kill Tang Chen. Sigh, what a contradiction. Lu Yuan sighed again and gently rubbed his furrowed brows. He was really confused about how to deal with this matter. Forget it, let's not care about this anymore. When the time comes, there will be a way. When the boat reaches the bridge, it will naturally straighten itself out. Let's just go with the flow. Let's take a look at this self-created soul skill first. After breaking through to Spear Soul, I have some new ideas. Once he broke through to Spear Soul, his horizons were broadened by a lot. He was prepared to modify and strengthen his original self-created soul skill, then he could ponder about creating a new one. Self-created soul skills still had to keep up with the times. After all, he was getting stronger every moment. His previous self-created soul skills were naturally no longer useful. He had to use a new and strengthened version. Lu Yuan thought to himself as he gently flipped through the book in his hand. He frowned slightly and his eyes flickered slightly, as if he was thinking about something. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's door was gently pushed open, and a graceful figure went in. Xiao Lan tiptoed into the room and looked at Lu Yuan, who was thinking. She giggled and ran towards Lu Yuan. Who asked you to come? Lu Yuan didn't even raise his head. His indifferent voice sounded, causing Xiao Lan's figure to stop abruptly. Brother, did you hear that? Xiao Lan smiled and said awkwardly. She saw that Lu Yuan was reading so seriously and thought that Lu Yuan didn't hear her. Brother isn't deaf, how can I not hear you? It's not that brother wants to scold you, but it's late at night, don't run into brother's room. Lu Yuan closed the book and looked at Xiao Lan helplessly. Why? Xiao Lan pouted with a puzzled look. She walked forward and sat down on the bed. This is not good. Lu Yuan said seriously. Why is it not good? Xiao Lan asked. It's not good, it's not good. There's no reason. Lu Yuan said indifferently. Xiao Lan snorted. She was obviously unhappy. Seeing Xiao Lan snorting and pouting, Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. He moved slightly and sat beside Xiao Lan. He stretched out his right hand and gently stroked Xiao Lan's long blue hair. Who asked you to come? Lu Yuan asked again. Xiao Lan snorted again and didn't answer. Oh, still throwing a tantrum with brother? Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and scratched Xiao Lan's itchy flesh with his right hand. Xiao Lan suddenly laughed and struggled. Xiao Lan grabbed Lu Yuan's right hand with both of his hands and stared at Lu Yuan angrily with his big eyes. Seeing Xiao Lan's cute appearance, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile faintly. He stretched out his hand and pinched Xiao Lan's white and tender cheeks. Did your father ask you to come? Lu Yuan blinked and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. No, Xiao Lan wanted to come. Father just agreed to Xiao Lan's request. Xiao Lan said crisply. Oh, is that so? Lu Yuan narrowed his eyes. He didn't stop Xiao Lan, which meant that the deep-sea magic whale king had this thought. It seems that you're not very honest. Are you just worried about Xiao Lan, or do you want to use Xiao Lan to scheme something? Lu Yuan secretly guessed. No matter how respectful Lu Yuan was towards the deep-sea magic whale king, he couldn't trust it wholeheartedly. Its cunning side was already deeply ingrained in Lu Yuan's heart. But now wasn't the right time. Lu Yuan only thought about it for a moment and then suppressed his thoughts. However, his impression of the deep-sea magic whale king had decreased a bit. Lu Yuan looked at Xiao Lan and said, Why didn't you stay in your room in the middle of the night? Why did you come to Big Brother's room? Lu Yuan asked softly. Although he had some guesses about Xiao Lan's intentions, he still had to ask. Xiao Lan wants to sleep with Big Brother, Xiao Lan said with an innocent face. Lu Yuan, he guessed right. Little girl, sleep, sleep. Do you know what it means to sleep together? Xiao Lan, Big Brother knows that you like Big Brother, and Big Brother also likes you, but we can't sleep together," Lu Yuan said with a serious face. "Why?" Xiao Lan asked puzzledly. This was the second time Big Brother said this. Does Big Brother dislike Xiao Lan? Does Big Brother not like Xiao Lan? Xiao Lan raised her head. Her big eyes flickered with tears and her face was full of grievance. Chapter 971. Of course not. Why would I dislike Xiao Lan? Xiao Lan is so pretty and cute. How could I not like Xiao Lan? In my heart, Xiao Lan is very important. Lu Yuan caressed Xiao Lan's face and said gently, "Then why can't I sleep with Xiao Lan? You can sleep with Sister Nana and the rest." Xiao Lan looked at Lu Yuan with her big eyes, as though she wanted an explanation. "Xiao Lan, you are different from Sister Nana and the rest. They are my wives and you are my sister. We are siblings. You can be close to me, but you can't sleep with me," Lu Yuan said gently. "Why can't siblings sleep together? Then Xiao Lan doesn't want to be a sister. Xiao Lan wants to be a wife." Xiao Lan shook her head and said, "Slap." Lu Yuan flicked his finger at Xiao Lan's forehead, and the little girl immediately touched her forehead, tears welling up in her big eyes. "Ouch, it hurts. Why did you hit Xiao Lan?" Xiao Lan looked at Lu Yuan with grievance. She didn't know what she did wrong for Lu Yuan to hit her. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lu Yuan frowned and looked at Xiao Lan sternly. What did Xiao Lan say wrong again? Xiao Lan was confused. She didn't know what she did wrong. She didn't know much about the world. Since she was born, she was well protected by her parents. How could she know such things? Xiao Lan only wanted to be close to brother. Not only did brother hit Xiao Lan, you were also fierce to Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan is angry. Xiao Lan doesn't like brother anymore. Xiao Lan turned her head away. The more she thought about it, the more wronged she felt. Crystal clear tears flowed down her snow-white cheeks, leaving 2 trails of tears. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's heart softened. This girl didn't know anything, so she spoke without restraint. He was a little emotional. When he heard that she wanted to be his wife, he couldn't control his anger. Now that he thought about it, he regretted it a little. "All right, Xiao Lan. It's brother's fault. Brother apologizes to you. Don't be angry, okay?" Reaching out to hug Xiao Lan, Lu Yuan gently patted her back to comfort her. After all, he was a senior sistercon, so he couldn't bear to be cruel to his own sister. If it wasn't for Xiao Lan's shocking words tonight, he would never have looked at her with such a serious expression. Now that he saw her crying, he couldn't help but soften, and all his anger disappeared. Xiao Lan is going to be angry. Big brother is actually fierce to Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan puffed up her cheeks and said angrily. Lu Yuan used to dote on her and had never been fierce to her. Looking at Xiao Lan's tear-stained face, Lu Yuan couldn't help but find it funny. He reached out and gently wiped away the tears on Xiao Lan's face. Xiao Lan quietly watched Lu Yuan's actions. She could feel the doting look in Lu Yuan's eyes. Her puffed-up cheeks slowly relaxed and the resentment in her heart disappeared completely. This little girl was very easy to coax. "Brother." Xiao Lan took a step forward and lay in Lu Yuan's arms. She opened her big eyes and looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. "Xiao Lan, be good. You really can't stay. Brother will accompany you for a while. After that, you can go back to sleep, okay?" Lu Yuan said gently. "All right." Xiao Lan pouted. Seeing that Lu Yuan was still so determined, she felt a little wronged. However, she didn't insist anymore. Although she was innocent, she wasn't stupid. She could feel that Lu Yuan was very resistant to this matter, and even felt disgusted. Although she still didn't understand why, she didn't insist on staying like she did at the start. She lay in Lu Yuan's arms and closed her eyes. She enjoyed the warmth of Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan gently played with Xiao Lan's blue hair. His eyes were filled with gentleness. Xiao Lan's innocence and cuteness made one want to protect her, just like Wang Qiu'er. "I don't know how Qiu'er is doing." Lu Yuan's gaze turned gentle when he thought about Wang Qiu'er. She was his first sister, and also his most beloved sister. The two of them were even related by blood. Although they weren't of the same bloodline, they were still connected. To be honest, Wang Qiuer's position in his heart wasn't lower than Hulena and the rest. She was obedient, innocent, and cute. However, she was decisive and didn't show any mercy to her enemies. She wasn't like Xiao Lan, who was pure and kind. However, it made sense. Wang Qiuer was the little tyrant of the Great Stardew Forest. Her personality was a little wild. However, Xiao Lan had always been an obedient girl by her parents' side. She was a little different. Qiuer will have another sister when we return to the Great Stardew Forest. I wonder how happy she will be. Lu Yuan smiled. Qiuer should be very happy to have a pure sister who was also a soul beast in human form. I have to ask Na to teach Xiao Lan properly when we go to the Great Stardew Forest. Qiuer knows that she can't sleep with me, but Xiao Lan doesn't know anything. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Xiao Lan was too pure. She was so pure that he felt a little helpless. Xiao Lan was the first person he had seen who insisted on sleeping with him. Furthermore, it was just sleeping. It would be fine if the two of them were still young. However, Lu Yuan was almost 19 years old, and Xiao Lan looked like she was 16. How could they sleep together? He had the bloodline of the five-clawed golden dragon king. He was very impulsive. If they slept together and something happened, he wouldn't be able to face anyone. This was his sister. He was a playboy, but he wasn't a beast. Furthermore, Xiao Lan didn't know anything. If something happened, Hulena and the rest would despise him for the rest of his life. Although he didn't care about how others looked at him, he couldn't accept being looked down on by his own woman. As he thought about it, time passed second by second. After about half an hour, Lu Yuan finally regained his senses. He glanced at Xiao Lan. This little girl had actually fallen asleep in his arms. Her breathing was shallow, and her little face was red. She was indescribably cute. Silly girl. There was a trace of gentleness in Lu Yuan's eyes as he gently carried Xiao Lan and sent her back to her room. The night passed peacefully. The next day, after waking up and eating breakfast, Lu Yuan brought the deep-sea devil whale king and the rest to the Great Stardew Forest. There was still some distance between Oceanic City and the Great Stardew Forest. However, Lu Yuan and the rest were very fast. They reached the Great Stardew Forest in just 2 days. This was because he had to take care of Xiao Lan. Otherwise, they could have been even faster. After all, he and the deep-sea devil whale king were at the top of the continent. Even Lanyang was a 200,000-year savage beast. Her strength was still extraordinary. It was just that Xiao Lan was a little weaker. Chapter 972. After so many years, I'm finally here again. A tinge of emotion flashed across Lu Yuan's eyes as he looked at the lush and boundless forest. It had been a long time since he last came to this place. Is this the Great Stardew Forest? The deep-sea demon whale king looked at the forest in front of him and asked curiously. Yes. Lu Yuan's cold voice sounded. Ever since Xiao Lan came to his room that night, his impression of the deep-sea demon whale king had worsened, and he didn't have a good attitude towards him over the past 2 days. If not for Xiao Lan, Lu Yuan would have slapped him to death. He didn't know how to write the word death if he dared to have any thoughts about him. Even Ning Fengji, who was once his partner and father-in-law, was so angry that he vomited blood, let alone the deep-sea demon whale king. If not for the fact that he was about to be sacrificed and didn't have much time left, Lu Yuan was sure that he would have a good time. However, even though he didn't do anything to him, it was impossible for Lu Yuan to be amiable. Follow me. Lu Yuan said softly as he held Xiao Lan's hand and walked in front. The deep-sea demon whale king and Lanyang looked at each other and followed behind Lu Yuan. The moment Lu Yuan stepped into the Great Stardew Forest, the silver dragon reverse scale on his body suddenly heated up, and Lu Yuan narrowed his eyes. Outside the Lake of Life, Jiu Yuana was originally sitting cross-legged. Suddenly, she felt a scalding heat in her arms. She reached into her clothes and took out a bright golden reverse scale. The golden reverse scale emitted a high temperature, and in addition to the increasingly strong feeling in her heart, Jiu Yuana's purple eyes flashed, and the corner of her mouth curled into a gentle smile. You're here. Jiu Yuana whispered softly. Her smile was like a flower, and her body and mind were immediately filled with joy. Di Tian. Jiu Yuana said softly. Master, what are your orders? A black light flashed, and Di Tian's figure appeared on the spot. He knelt on one knee and lowered his head. He's here. Go and welcome him. Jiu Yuana's indifferent voice sounded. Is his honor here? Di Tian asked softly. Yes, go and bring him here. Jiu Yuana said. Yes, my lord. Di Tian replied before he disappeared once again. Jiu Yuana's purple eyes scanned the room. Is Choa not here? Yes, she should be with that little rabbit. Jiu Yuana murmured softly. Then she stood up and walked forward. Since Lu Yuan was here, how could she continue to cultivate? Seeing her lover was the most important thing. Lu Yuan and the others quickly moved forward. To them, even the great Douluo forest was like flat ground. Regardless of whether it was a 1,000-year soul beast or a 10,000-year soul beast, they all fled after sensing their auras. Therefore, Lu Yuan and the others advanced very smoothly. The outer region of the great Douluo forest was very large. However, Lu Yuan carried little Lan and quickly traversed the forest in less than 2 hours. When he first came here, it took him a few days to traverse the outer region. It was incomparable to now. Lu Yuan's figure turned into a beam of golden light. Dragon roars sounded as he quickly entered the hybrid region. Little Lan lay quietly in Lu Yuan's arms. She blinked her large eyes. She was very cute. The deep-sea devil whale king followed behind Lu Yuan with Lan Yang. Suddenly, Lu Yuan stopped. He looked at the ripples in the space in front of him and blinked. My lord. The deep-sea devil whale king rushed over. When he saw that Lu Yuan had stopped, he was a little confused. Lu Yuan ignored him and stared straight ahead without moving. Suddenly, the space in front of them split open. Di Tian's figure walked out. Greetings, my lord. My lord has ordered me to welcome you here. Di Tian bowed and said. Di Tian, it's really you. Lu Yuan's eyes sparkled as he looked at Di Tian in front of him. Deep-sea devil whale king, Lu Yuan said softly. My lord. The deep-sea devil whale king replied. Go and beat up that stupid dragon in front of me. Lu Yuan said indifferently. Yes, my lord. Seeing that Di Tian was only an ultimate Douluo, the deep-sea devil whale king immediately agreed. He didn't dare to fight Lu Yuan and the Pasisi, who could borrow divine power. However, he wasn't afraid of dealing with existences weaker than him. He was best at bullying the weak. However, he was wrong this time. Di Tian was only an ultimate Douluo, but after using the dragon god's claw, he wasn't weaker than a demigod. The deep-sea devil whale king with a broken arm was really difficult to deal with. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Di Tian was a little confused. He immediately asked, My lord, what do you mean by this? Nothing. I'm just testing your strength. The soul beast in front of you is a deep-sea devil whale king. It's only a step away from becoming a million-year soul beast. It's very strong. You're also known as the beast god. I want to see if you're stronger than him. Lu Yuan said indifferently. There's no need for that, my lord. Seeing the deep-sea devil whale king's appearance and feeling its aura, Di Tian knew that it wasn't easy to provoke. He didn't have the confidence to win, so he didn't want to make a move. I think it's very necessary. Deep-sea devil whale king, the one in front of you is the strongest soul beast on the continent. He's the 850,000-year-old golden eyes black dragon king, the beast god Di Tian. You're the strongest in the sea, and he's the strongest on the continent. So let's compete. However, you can only win. If you lose, come and find me for a lesson. Lu Yuan said lightly. Hearing this, the deep-sea devil whale king's body trembled. Looking for Lu Yuan for a lesson was purely tyrannical. No one knew better than him how strong Lu Yuan was. However, he was still confident. With Di Tian's cultivation, he believed that it wouldn't be a problem for him to defeat Di Tian. My lord, don't worry, I will definitely win, the deep-sea devil whale king said with a face full of confidence. When the deep-sea devil whale king said those words, Di became unhappy. He didn't want to make a move because he didn't have the confidence to win. However, it wasn't because he was afraid. The beast god's name wasn't just for show. The deep-sea devil whale king actually said that he could defeat Di. How could Di tolerate that? He, Di, had roamed the continent and had never lost before. Below the deity level, who was he afraid of? Your honor, if I accidentally injure him, you won't be angry, right? Di asked. Of course not. However, you better use your full strength. If you lose, come and find me for a lesson. I'm very interested in guiding you. Lu Yuan smiled, and his smile was especially brilliant. However, Di body trembled, and a bad premonition emerged in his heart. Di eyes narrowed as he looked at Lu Yuan. Immediately, his heart trembled, because Lu Yuan's body seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog, and no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't see through it. And this kind of feeling, he had only felt from Gu Yuana before. Could it be that his honor's strength has also reached that level? As Di guessed inwardly, his heart was filled with shock. Chapter 973. Seeing Di looking at him, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. With his current strength, it would be strange if Di could see through him. One must know that the existence of a divine body had already transcended the mortal realm. Right now, Lu Yuan could even live without eating or drinking. He had already ascended to a new level of life. It was basically impossible for Di to see through him. If it was Gu Yuana, it might be possible. Let's do it. Lu Yuan waved his hand, and the deep-sea magic whale king behind him immediately rushed out. Its powerful demigod aura was revealed. Seeing this, Di quickly retracted his gaze that was sizing up Lu Yuan and received the deep-sea magic whale king's attack. The two of them quickly rose up and started fighting. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion sounded in the air. It was the sound of energy explosion. Looking at the two of them fighting, Lu Yuan's lips curled into a smile. Di had caught him twice like catching a chicken. The deep-sea magic whale king dared to use Xiaolan to test him. These two fellows were really asking for a beating. It was a good opportunity for these two fellows to fight. Their strength was originally about the same, but the deep-sea magic whale king had lost an arm, and it wasn't in its home ground. It would definitely be beaten up if it fought with Di in his normal state. However, once Di used the dragon god's claw, the chances of the deep-sea magic whale king losing would be very high. Once the deep-sea magic whale king was defeated, he could use this opportunity to give the deep-sea magic whale king a good lesson. As for Di although he could win, he would definitely be beaten up badly. It was impossible for him to win too easily. It just so happened that he could use the excuse of raising Di strength to openly beat him up and teach him a lesson. He was a very vengeful person. Di had captured him twice, and he had once said that he would beat Di up, so he would definitely beat him up. Other than the fact that he might not be reliable when it came to matters related to women, he would definitely keep his word on everything else. Therefore, when he saw Di he made this decision in just a moment. It would allow him to beat the two of them up at the same time to vent the resentment in his heart. It had to be said that this was killing two birds with one stone. However, for someone like him who often used his brain, such an idea wasn't too difficult. Strength was important, but sometimes, brains were also quite important. At the very least, Di and the deep-sea demonic whale king had yet to react. But even if they reacted, there was nothing they could do. They would still be beaten up. This was an open conspiracy, Lu Yuan thought to himself. He turned to Lan Yang and said, "Let's go." Lu Yuan's faint voice sounded. "My lord, will my husband be all right?" Although she was very confident in the deep-sea devil whale king, Lan Yang was still a little worried when she heard Lu Yuan say that Di was the strongest soul beast on the continent. "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Lu Yuan replied softly. Even if the deep-sea magic whale king was defeated, it would at most suffer some injuries, and its life would not be in danger. Even if Di Tian had the dragon god's claw, it was absolutely impossible for him to kill the deep-sea magic whale king. That's great. Lan Yang heaved a sigh of relief. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she thought that the deep-sea demonic whale king would win. She immediately relaxed. The deep-sea demonic whale king and Di Tian were fighting crazily in the sky. Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered to pay attention to their fight. To him, the two of them were weaklings, and there was nothing to watch. He carried Xiao Lan with one hand, and Lan Yang followed beside him. The three of them quickly rushed towards the core area. Golden light flickered, and Lu Yuan's figure sprinted through the forest. He was extremely fast, and was several times faster than the speed of sound. Lan Yang had to use all her strength to barely keep up with him. So slow. Lu Yuan paused for a moment and grabbed Lan Yang's shoulder with one hand. Soul power surged out and protected Lan Yang as well. Thank you, my lord. Lan Yang thanked him. She wasn't weak, and had no problem fighting a rank 97 transcendent Douluo. However, that depended on who she was competing with. If she was compared to Lu Yuan, she was far too weak. No need. I just think that you're too slow, Lu Yuan said indifferently. His figure flashed, and his speed suddenly increased by a lot. After about an hour, Lu Yuan stopped. A huge lake appeared in front of him. A dense aura of life emanated from the lake, and the refreshing aura made one feel relaxed and happy. The lake of life. Lu Yuan stopped and put down Xiao Lan, who was in his arms, as well as his hand on Lan Yang's shoulder. Lan Yang panted slightly. Xiao Lan was lying in Lu Yuan's arms, and all resistance was isolated by Lu Yuan. Xiao Lan didn't feel anything at all. However, Lan Yang was different. She only had her soul power as a barrier. Lu Yuan was simply too fast, and she really suffered a lot. If not for the fact that she was quite strong and had a strong resistance, she would have vomited a long time ago. Ari, no matter how fast I am, it's still not as convenient as tearing space apart. It seems like I have to ask Na about the mysteries of spatial power this time. Even Di Tian can tear space apart. I'm so much stronger than him. If I can't do it, it'll be a little embarrassing. Lu Yuan thought to himself as his eyes flickered. Big brother, is this the lake of life? The scenery is so beautiful, and the air smells so good. Xiao Lan tugged on Lu Yuan's sleeve, and her clear and ethereal voice sounded. Yes, this is the lake of life. However, this is only the periphery. The core is still inside. Let's go, let's continue forward. Lu Yuan smiled. Xiao Lan nodded vigorously. She held onto Lu Yuan's hand with her small hand, and a sweet smile appeared on her face. Lu Yuan smiled. Suddenly, his expression froze, and a smile appeared on his face. He was just about to take a step forward when he stopped. Big stupid bear, what are you hiding there for? Hurry up and come out. Lu Yuan's gaze turned to a certain direction, and he shouted softly. As his voice fell, there was still no movement from the bear. You don't want to come out, right? Lu Yuan sneered, and a slap was thrown in that direction. A palm print that was several hundred feet in size appeared in midair, and it directly slammed into a dense forest. Trees immediately collapsed to the ground, and dirt flew everywhere. The miserable cry of a big stupid bear rang out. Lu Yuan extended his hand, and a gust of wind surged. Accompanied by a series of anguished howls, the bear lord's body, which was several dozen meters tall, was directly sucked out by Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's slap instantly shook the earth, and a huge crater appeared in the ground. The bear lord's body was imprinted in the crater. The huge bear's head sunk into the crater, and it ate a mouthful of mud. Are you still going to hide? I told you to come out, but you didn't. What, are you addicted to playing tricks on others? You want to play tricks on me too? Lu Yuan stomped his foot, and a huge force burst forth, directly shaking the bear lord out of the crater. Chapter 974. Immediately after, Lu Yuan took 2 steps forward and directly grabbed onto Bear Lord's ear. With a slight tug, Bear Lord immediately started howling in pain. Your Honor, Let go, let go. SSSS, it hurts so much. Bear Lord sucked in a mouthful of cold air and hurriedly begged for mercy. You also know pain? Just now, when I asked you to come out, you didn't come out. What? You wanted to sneakily slap me with your claws, hmm? Lu Yuan's voice rose by a few octaves, and he immediately used a bit more strength, causing Bear Lord to grimace in pain. I wouldn't dare, subordinate wouldn't dare. Subordinate wouldn't dare to be disrespectful to your honor. Subordinate only wanted to joke around with your honor. Bear Lord waved his bare claws and said with a fawning expression. He finally knew how powerful Lu Yuan was. With just 2 slaps, he didn't have any temper at all. Lu Yuan was even more powerful than Di Tian. Bear Lord felt that he was just like a little chick in Tang Wulin's hands, and Tang Wulin could play with him however Tang Wulin wanted. Thus, Bear Lord didn't dare to be angry anymore. Originally, Bear Lord was a little displeased when Jiu Yuana told them to address Lu Yuan as your honor. After all, no matter what, Bear Lord was still a half-step limit existence. But now, I can't afford to offend you, your honor is awesome. As for calling Lu Yuan as your honor, I, Bear Lord, wholeheartedly agree. From now on, I, Bear Lord, will be your honor's most loyal supporter. Bear Lord shouted crazily in his heart. You said that you only wanted to joke around with me? After hearing Bear Lord's words, Lu Yuan asked with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. That's right. Bear Lord nodded repeatedly. All right then, I also want to joke around with you, Lu Yuan said with a gentle smile on his face. Seeing this smile, Bear Lord's heart suddenly tensed up, and he had a bad premonition. Sure enough, just as the premonition arose in his heart, Lu Yuan grabbed onto his ear and pulled fiercely. Bear Lord immediately felt so much pain that his facial muscles contracted. After that, Lu Yuan's body moved, and he arrived behind Bear Lord. Grabbing onto Bear Lord's short and small tail, Lu Yuan swung Bear Lord's huge body around and smashed it onto the ground. Suddenly, the ground shook and dust billowed. After a round of beating, Lu Yuan threw the badly battered Bear Lord aside and looked at him with a smile. Are you happy with this joke? Bear Lord's face was swollen, and his lips were twitching as he looked at Lu Yuan. He wanted to cry, but no tears would come out. In all honesty, he had never been beaten so miserably before. Furthermore, this guy was asking him if he was satisfied after beating him up. But when it thought of Lu Yuan's strength, it immediately gave in. Looking at Lu Yuan's threatening gaze, it held back its tears of grievance and nodded, saying, satisfied. Are you really satisfied? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. I'm really satisfied. Bear Lord nodded. You're so satisfied? Then let's do it again. Lu Yuan smiled and stretched out his right hand again. Your honor, wait. Bear Lord was given a fright when he saw that Lu Yuan was about to continue. He had already been beaten quite badly, and if he were to be beaten again, he would most likely lose half of his life. Didn't you say you were satisfied? What, are you lying to me? Lu Yuan stared at Bear Lord and said indifferently. Bear Lord's body trembled as he felt Lu Yuan's cold gaze, and a chill ran down his spine. He smiled obsequiously and said, Your honor, it's getting late, and Master is still waiting for you. How about we come again next time? You can go and see Master first. Hearing Bear Lord's words, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Who said that this stupid bear was stupid when he used Jiu Yuana to pressure him? This guy was obviously very smart. However, when he thought of Jiu Yuana, Lu Yuan felt a little anxious. He hadn't seen her for a long time, and he really missed her. His desire to teach Bear Lord a lesson immediately diminished. Forget it, since this guy is so sensible, I'll let him off. Moreover, this guy had killed quite a number of people from the Clear Sky sect, and he was considered a meritorious deed. Beating him up was indeed enough. Lu Yuan nodded gently as he looked at the smiling Bear Lord. You're right. I'll remember today's lesson. I'll come and play with you another day. We can play some more jokes then. Bear Lord smiled and said, You're right. I'll remember today's lesson. As he spoke, Lu Yuan flashed a radiant smile. Bear Lord's heart trembled when he saw that smile. It seemed like he couldn't escape the fate of being beaten up after all. However, if he was beaten up, then so be it. He just had to deal with the current situation first. As for whether he would be beaten up in the future, that was a matter for the future. He couldn't care less about it now. Xiao Lan, let's go, Lu Yuan said to Xiao Lan with a smile after taking another look at Bear Lord. Xiao Lan nodded and followed Lu Yuan towards the core region. Bear Lord heaved a sigh of relief as he watched Lu Yuan's figure disappear. This jinx is finally gone. I wonder how this jinx cultivates. He's so young, and yet he's so strong. It's really unimaginable. Bear Lord muttered in his heart. Lu Yuan and the other two advanced for a while longer. The life energy from the Lake of Life became thicker and thicker. They had already entered the core region. Suddenly, Lu Yuan stopped in his tracks. He looked at the few familiar faces in front of him. Brother. A pleasant voice rang out. Wang Qiu'er was like a swallow returning to its nest. She rushed into Lu Yuan's embrace with her fragrance. Lu Yuan stretched out his hands and hugged Wang Qiu'er gently. Brother. Wang Qiu'er hugged Lu Yuan's neck and hung onto Lu Yuan's body. Qiu'er. Lu Yuan smiled gently as he looked at Wang Qiu'er's beautiful face. They hadn't seen each other for 2 years, and Wang Qiu'er had become a lot prettier. She had also developed very well. She was no different from those young ladies. Brother, I missed you so much. Wang Qiu'er pecked Lu Yuan's face. Her pinkish blue eyes were filled with longing. I missed you too, Qiu'er. Lu Yuan said gently as he hugged Wang Qiu'er's waist with his left hand and pinched her cheek with his right hand. Wang Qiu'er's cheeks were pink and tender. They were rosy, and felt good to the touch. Really? Did you really miss me? Wang Qiu'er didn't care that Lu Yuan was pinching her cheek. She blinked her eyes and looked at Lu Yuan as she asked. Of course, Lu Yuan said with a serious look on his face. He wasn't lying. He really did miss Wang Qiu'er. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Wang Qiu'er's face blossomed into a beautiful smile. Her pinkish blue eyes curved into crescents. She hugged Lu Yuan tightly and rested her face on Lu Yuan's shoulder. Her eyes were squinted, and she enjoyed the warmth of Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan hugged Wang Qiu'er's waist and gently caressed her bright golden hair. His eyes were filled with gentleness. He was in a good mood when he saw his sister again. There was a joy that came from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 975. The two of them hugged for a while before Lu Yuan patted Wang Qiu'er's butt and gestured for her to get down. Wang Qiu'er pouted. Although she wasn't too happy, she still got down from Lu Yuan's body obediently. She hugged Lu Yuan's arm tightly and refused to let go. Elder brother, who is she? Wang Qiu'er hugged Lu Yuan's arm and looked at Xiao Lan, who was standing on the other side of Lu Yuan. Her pinkish blue eyes blinked, and there was a doubtful look on her face. She's called Xiao Lan. She's elder brother's new younger sister. Lu Yuan smiled. After hearing this, Wang Qiu'er's expression changed. She looked very wronged, and she looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. Don't you want Qiu'er anymore? Why would I? Of course I want Qiu'er. Qiu'er is elder brother's favorite younger sister. Lu Yuan smiled gently as he caressed Wang Qiu'er's hair. Then why are you looking for a younger sister? Is Qiu'er not good enough? Wang Qiu'er said softly. Her pinkish blue eyes sparkled with tears. Ooh. Lu Yuan was stunned when he saw Wang Qiu'er's expression. After that, he revealed a bitter smile. Wang Qiu'er was jealous. He had never thought of this. Wang Qiu'er didn't react to his many girlfriends. He didn't expect Wang Qiu'er to be so agitated when he had a younger sister. She was always so obedient and generous, but she was jealous. However, it made sense. No matter how many girlfriends he had, he would still only have Wang Qiu'er as his younger sister. Now that he had Xiao Lan, Wang Qiu'er was probably worried that Xiao Lan would steal his attention. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Why aren't you answering me? Is Qiu'er not good enough? Wang Qiu'er asked again when she saw Lu Yuan in a daze. Of course Qiu'er is good enough. Qiu'er is beautiful and generous. I like you a lot. Lu Yuan said gently. Then why are you looking for a younger sister? I only need one younger sister. I don't need other younger sisters. Wang Qiu'er pouted and said seriously. Qiu'er. Lu Yuan raised his voice and looked at Wang Qiu'er seriously. Xiao Lan was right beside him, so how could she say something like that? It was very hurtful. Brother is fierce to Qiu'er. Brother has never been fierce to Qiu'er before. Today, you're actually fierce to Qiu'er because of her. Wang Qiu'er's face was full of grievances, and her eyes were filled with tears. She stared at Lu Yuan and complained silently. This. The corner of Lu Yuan's mouth twitched when he saw Wang Qiu'er on the verge of tears. He felt a little helpless. Wang Qiu'er had always stuck to him, but he didn't expect her to be so possessive. Initially, he had brought Xiao Lan over to make Wang Qiu'er happy. However, it seemed like his plan had backfired. She was actually jealous. This was beyond his expectations. She glanced at Xiao Lan beside her. Indeed, she was pouting. Even though she had a good temper and was kind, it didn't mean that she wasn't angry. Wang Qiu'er's words must have provoked her. Sigh, what's going on? Lu Yuan sighed softly. He was a little vexed. Both of them were his beloved younger sisters. Comforting one would hurt the other. It was so difficult. He had never encountered such a jealous situation even though he had found so many wives. Damn it, he was caught off guard when he found two younger sisters. It's rare to see you sigh. Why? Is there something you can't handle? A gentle voice rang out beside Lu Yuan's ear. Lu Yuan lifted his head and saw Jiyu Yuana's graceful figure. Naya. Lu Yuan's eyes brightened when he saw Jiyu Yuana. He couldn't help but smile warmly. You're finally here. I thought you'd forgotten about me. Jiyu Yuana rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan. There was a tinge of resentment in her eyes. How could I forget about you? I've been thinking about you every day. Lu Yuan spoke the standard words of a scumbag. It was true that he often thought about Jiyu Yuana, but it was a lie to say that he thought about her every day. At the very least, he didn't think about Jiyu Yuana when he was happy with Hulena and the others. He had 6 wives. It was unrealistic to think about all 6 of them every day. Lu Yuan couldn't do that. Forget it, as if I'd believe you. It's already good enough that a playboy like you would think of me occasionally. Jiyu Yuana glanced at Lu Yuan and said in annoyance. She wasn't clear about Lu Yuan's character. His love for her was absolutely true. However, the problem was that this man loved everyone too much. His love for every woman was true. There were 6 women, and 3 of them were by his side. How could they, who were far away, be compared to the ones by his side? She was sure that this guy, apart from cultivating, spent most of his time flirting with Hulena and the others. If not, then the result would be even worse. This guy was probably flirting with other women. She didn't understand these things in the past, but now she understood them very well. Naya, look at what you're saying. You're as gentle as water, natural and unrestrained. Most importantly, you're so beautiful. How could I only think of you occasionally? I could say that your figure often appeared in my mind. Lu Yuan said seriously. Oh, so it's like that. According to you, you think about me because I'm beautiful. If I'm not beautiful, you won't think about me. Jiyu Yuana blinked her purple eyes. There was a hint of playfulness in her tone. You think too much. If you weren't beautiful, I wouldn't fall in love with you at all. Lu Yuan murmured softly. However, although his voice was soft, Jiyu Yuana heard it clearly. Her pretty face immediately darkened. This guy really didn't change at all. He was a typical appearance association. This guy seemed to have agreed to be with her from the beginning because of her beautiful appearance. A pervert was a pervert. No matter how good he treated her later and how much he loved her, he was still attracted to her appearance at the beginning. Jiyu Yuana snorted. She walked in front of Lu Yuan and stared at him with a pair of purple eyes. You're still so beautiful. Looking at Jiyu Yuana, who was close to him, Lu Yuan raised his right hand and gently stroked Jiyu Yuana's cheek. Pa. Jiyu Yuana slapped Lu Yuan's hand away. She looked straight at Lu Yuan. You're beautiful all day long. If I'm disfigured and not beautiful, you won't love me anymore. You have the secret character. You can recover from any injury. You won't be disfigured. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, I'm saying if I'm not beautiful anymore, will you still love me? Will you still love me? Jiu Yuana asked with a serious expression. Of course. At first, I only loved your appearance. I've always admitted this. But now, I love you as a person. I love your character. I love your gentleness. I love everything about you. So even if you're disfigured and not beautiful, I'll still love you. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with a trace of tenderness. His tone was sincere. Chapter 976. Really? Jiu Yuana's eyes rippled slightly as she asked in a soft voice. Truer than a pearl, I can swear on my own bloodline, Lu Yuan said in a firm voice. No need, I trust you. Jiu Yuana smiled softly and took a step forward, burrowing into Lu Yuan's arms. Looking at Jiu Yuana's gorgeous features in his arms, Lu Yuan lowered his head slightly and kissed Jiu Yuana's tender lips. After a passionate kiss, Lu Yuan finally released Jiu Yuana, who was blushing slightly. He leaned forward slightly, pressing his forehead against Jiu Yuana's, and the two of them could hear each other's breathing. Jiu Yuana's noble and mysterious purple eyes were shimmering, and Lu Yuan could even see his own reflection in her eyes. Lu Yuan reached out and caressed Jiu Yuana's fair and tender face. His eyes were full of tenderness as he spoke in a soft voice. Looks are very important because that's the first impression you have of others, but true love isn't just about looks. If you want to be together for a long time, what's more important is what's inside. I admit that I coveted your beauty in the beginning, and of course, I covet your body now, but I love your personality more, and I love your love for me. I'm a very vulgar person, but I'm not just a vulgar person. Do you understand? Lu Yuan asked in a soft voice. I understand. Jiu Yuana's voice was soft and gentle, and a radiant smile bloomed on her beautiful face. Her purple eyes were like limpid autumn waters, and they were particularly captivating. Seeing this beautiful scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but kiss Jiu Yuana's red lips again. Their lips and tongues intertwined, and the two of them were completely immersed in the kiss, forgetting everything around them. Lu Yuan couldn't help but withdraw his left hand, which had been held by Jiu Yuana, and wrap it around Jiu Yuana's slender waist. His right hand was gently pressed against Jiu Yuana's head, and he kissed her to his heart's content. Jiu Yuana responded enthusiastically, and her jade-like arms were also tightly wrapped around Lu Yuan's waist. She closed her eyes slightly and enjoyed this moment to the fullest. The two of them were so unscrupulous that the surrounding people could not help but be stunned. Wang Qiuer's teary eyes blinked, and her rosy lips parted slightly. There was a dazed look on her face. Shouldn't her brother be comforting her? What was he doing now? Did he forget about me the moment he saw big sister Nao? H. What a detestable smelly brother. Wang Qiuer wiped the tears from her eyes. Even Lu Yuan couldn't see it, so what was she crying for? Yes, she would cry later. Xiao Lan also widened her clear blue eyes, her face full of curiosity. There were many people on the Sea God's Island, and they had to take the test. When Lu Yuan and Hu Lena were intimate, they had to go out and look for a house. When they were in front of others, they rarely kissed. At most, they kissed once before letting go. Therefore, this was Xiao Lan's first time kissing so directly. What does kissing feel like? Big brother seems to be enjoying it. Xiao Lan wants to try it too. Xiao Lan blinked its big eyes and thought to itself as it rolled its eyes. Not far away, the sky azure bull python and Xiao Wu also appeared. There were not many people in the core region, and Wang Qiuer was a little girl who could not stand loneliness, so she was with them most of the time. The sky azure bull python lowered its head. Jiu Yuana and Lu Yuan were far more important than it, so it did not dare to look at them kissing. However, Xiao Wu was completely entranced. Her large eyes were darting around, and no one knew what she was thinking. Big sister Xiao Wu, don't stare at them like that. Master and his lordship will get angry. The The sky azure ball python reminded Xiao Wu. It's all right, Big Ming. They won't be so petty. Xiao Wu tapped her red lips with her small white hand, and there was a trace of curiosity in her eyes. I realized that Lu Yuan likes to kiss a lot. Back then, he kissed Zhu Zhuqing in Shrek Academy, and now he's kissing Lord. Is kissing really that good? The sky azure ball python was struck by a sense of foreboding at the sight of the curiosity in Xiao Wu's eyes. Big sister Xiao Wu, you're not thinking about kissing, are you? I want to give it a try, but I don't have anyone to choose from, Xiao Wu sighed. The sky azure ball python opened its mouth, and a hint of dejection flashed through its eyes. It really wanted to say that it could, but Xiao Wu really did not seem to have any feelings for it. She only treated it as her little brother and family, but she did not like it. It had tried to test her, but all of its attempts had ended in failure. However, it still didn't give up. Even if Xiao Wu didn't like it, it was still willing to protect her. Xiao Wu had abused it countless times, but it treated her like its first love. Normal people wouldn't be able to understand the world of a bootlicker. As a loyal bootlicker who had been bootlicker for tens of thousands of years, the sky azure ball python had already developed a habit that it would never be able to change. However, Xiao Wu failed to notice the sky azure ball python's reaction. She was staring at Lu Yuan and Jiu Yuana with an unblinking gaze, and the curiosity in her heart was growing even stronger. Lu Yuan slowly stopped, and he raised his head slightly. Their lips parted, and a transparent line appeared in midair. "Na." Lu Yuan called out in a gentle voice. Jiu Yuana opened her eyes, and there was a hint of confusion in her eyes. It seemed that she still hadn't emerged from that state. Moments later, Jiu Yuana recovered, and her eyes lit up as she took in Lu Yuan's handsome face. "Na, your lips are so sweet. If it weren't for the fact that we're in the wrong place, I really want to do it again," Lu Yuan chuckled. Jiu Yuana shot a reproachful glance at Lu Yuan, but a hint of a smile appeared on her face. She was very pleased that Lu Yuan liked her so much. "Let's go to the bottom of the lake of life later, all right?" Lu Yuan asked in a gentle voice. A faint blush appeared on Jiu Yuana's face, and she nodded lightly. She naturally knew what Lu Yuan wanted to do, and in reality, she also wanted to do it. She was the same, and she had already waited for 2 years. On top of that, Lu Yuan didn't have any children yet, and she wanted to have his first child with Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan had many wives, so he was definitely going to have many children in the future. However, no matter what, his first child was definitely the most anticipated. She didn't like to compete, but she hoped that her child would be the one that Lu Yuan cared about the most. Even Jiu Yuana was no exception to this. Of course, Jiu Yuana wasn't the only one. Bibidon, Chihiro Snow, Zhu Zhuqing, and even Hulena were all thinking the same thing. The only person who didn't was most likely Ning Rongrong. She was still at the stage of enjoying Lu Yuan's love, so she hadn't even considered having children. Chapter 977. I knew my Na was the best. It's been 2 years since we last fought. I really want to fight you again. But this time, it won't be like last time. This time, I'm going to thoroughly defeat you. Lu Yuan smiled when he saw Jiu Yuana nod her head. He spoke softly, and there was a tinge of determination in his voice. He was still brooding over his previous fight with Jiu Yuana. He had never met a worthy opponent after so many years of roaming the world. Even when he fought against many, he still won. However, he didn't expect to fight Jiu Yuana for so long. They were evenly matched, and there was no clear winner. Hence, he was determined to defeat Jiu Yuana completely this time and establish his invincible status. "Defeat me," Jiu Yuana muttered softly. She looked at Lu Yuan with a smile in her eyes. "Then let's see how capable you are. It'll be great if you can defeat me." Jiu Yuana blinked. She didn't mind being defeated, and she was willing to be conquered by Lu Yuan. She was just afraid that Lu Yuan didn't have the ability to do so. "Then you'll have to wait and see," Lu Yuan chuckled. He wasn't the same person as before. He was much stronger now. Only Jiu Yuana could fight with him. Hulena and the others couldn't resist at all. The difference in their abilities was too great. Jiu Yuana smiled when she heard Lu Yuan's words. Her soft body was still in Lu Yuan's embrace, but she loosened her grip on Lu Yuan. She turned around gently and looked at Wang Chou-er. Her eyes were wide open, and her mouth was pouting so hard that a soy sauce bottle could be hung on it. A look of curiosity flashed across her eyes. What did you do to Chou-er? Why is she so angry? Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan and asked softly. How can I bear to do anything to her? She's my baby. I can't wait to pamper her. Lu Yuan looked at Wang Chou-er and said plainly. Mitch, you make it sound so nice. You don't even like me anymore. Wang Chou-er snorted and spoke with an aggrieved look on her face. Chou-er, just tell Big Sister Na what your brother has done. Big Sister Na will make the decision for you, Jiu Yuana said gently. Wang Chou-er glanced at Lu Yuan before turning back to Jiu Yuana. Brother doesn't want Chou-er anymore. He found another younger sister, and is even angry at Chou-er because of her. Wang Chou-er glared at Lu Yuan and complained. Is that true? Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan and asked calmly. Yes, but Chou-er didn't tell me everything. She was too agitated. Lu Yuan let go of Jiu Yuana and gently pulled Xiao Lan to the side and said, This is the second sister I know, Xiao Lan. This girl's eyes are so pure. Jiu Yuana's eyes brightened when she saw Xiao Lan's clear blue eyes. She praised her softly. She had a good impression of Xiao Lan just from this one look. She was a very pure girl, as pure as a piece of white paper. Yes, Xiao Lan is kind and pure. She's a very good girl. When I first saw her, I thought of Chou-er. They're both as pure and cute. She was attacked by a bunch of evil soul masters. Lu Yuan spoke softly and recounted everything that had happened when he met Xiao Lan. Xiao Lan is kind, cute, and likable. Chou-er is often alone, and there's no one to accompany her when I'm not around. I'm also worried that Chou-er will be led astray by that gangster rabbit. That's why I took Xiao Lan as my younger sister. I hoped that she could get along well with Chou-er and become good sisters. I also wanted to find a partner for Chou-er. I didn't expect Chou-er to think that I didn't want her anymore. Lu Yuan sighed softly, and there was a tinge of helplessness in his voice. Naturally, he wouldn't blame Wang Chou-er. Wang Chou-er had thought too much about him because she valued him too much. He blamed himself for not considering the bigger picture. After all, Wang Chou-er had always been a good girl in front of him. Who knew that she would suddenly become so agitated? In the end, he hadn't thought things through. Jiu Yuana nodded after hearing Lu Yuan's words. She knew it. With Lu Yuan's personality, how could he not want Wang Chou-er? So this was the specific reason. Chou-er! Jiu Yuana shouted at Wang Chou-er. Wang Chou-er blinked her big eyes and walked forward. She had heard Lu Yuan's words clearly, and knew that she had misunderstood Lu Yuan. Brother, Wang Chou-er said softly. She looked a little embarrassed. Do you still think that I'm doing this because I don't want you anymore? Lu Yuan pinched Wang Chou-er's cheeks and snapped. No, brother. I'm just too agitated. It's my fault. However, I still mind a little. I'm your only sister. Wang Chou-er had a serious look on her face as she spoke. No matter how many sisters you have, your love for me will never change. You and I will always be connected by blood, Lu Yuan said gently. Wang Chou-er smiled when she heard this. Yes, no matter how many sisters he had, she was the only one who had the Golden Dragon's bloodline like him. She was unique. Wang Chou-er was relieved when she thought of this. No matter what, she was irreplaceable in her brother's heart. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Wang Chou-er smile. He held Wang Chou-er's left hand and Xiao Lan's right hand and said, Both of you are my sisters, so you're sisters too. You have to get along well in the future. Don't fight, okay? Yes, brother, Wang Chou-er replied. Xiao Lan looked at Lu Yuan. She still had some reservations in her heart. After all, Wang Chou-er's words made her a little unhappy. However, she still nodded when she saw the hope in Lu Yuan's eyes. After all, She was very kind. More importantly, she didn't want to disappoint Lu Yuan. Good sister. Lu Yuan smiled, opened his arms, and hugged both of them at the same time. Jiu Yuana and Lan Yang, who was silent at the side, smiled warmly when they saw this scene. The only one who wasn't happy was Xiao Wu. Her face was black, and her eyes were filled with indignation. She had clearly heard Lu Yuan call her a gangster bunny earlier. Furthermore, he had even said that Wang Qiu'er would be worried if she was with her, and that he was afraid that she would lead Wang Qiu'er astray. This was too much. She was so cute and obedient. How did she become a gangster bunny? That damned Lu Yuan was spouting nonsense. He was making things up. He was slandering Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu hadn't seen Lu Yuan for many years. She had even forgotten what it felt like to tremble under the golden dragon's pressure. She had been trapped in the forest for many years, and she was licked by the sky azure bull python every day. She was a little jumpy again. Her crazy personality was showing signs of rearing its head again. Chapter 978. Xiao Wu was indignant at the side, while Lu Yuan hugged Wang Qiu'er and Xiao Lan before gently releasing them. Looking at the two adorable sisters in front of him, the corners of Lu Yuan's mouth could not help but curl up into a gentle smile. He gently rubbed the two women's heads before casting his gaze toward Jiu Yuana. You've come back for something, haven't you? Do you want to settle Xiao Lan down with me? Jiu Yuana asked softly when she sensed Lu Yuan's gaze. Lu Yuan smiled faintly when he heard this. You're really smart, Na. You saw through my intentions immediately. I knew you wouldn't come here for no reason. If you didn't have something to say, the first person you'd want to see would be either Chihiro Snow or Bidon. In any case, it definitely wouldn't be me, Jiu Yuana said in a faint voice. Jiu Yuana said faintly, with a trace of inexplicable look in her eyes. She was clearly the most beautiful, but the one this pervert loved the most was not her. Even though she didn't like to fight, she wasn't completely indifferent. What are you talking about? I want to see all of you. There's no first or last. Lu Yuan retorted. Is that so? Is there really no first or last place in your heart? Jiu Yuana asked. I'm talking about first or last place, not first or last place. It's all the same. I'm asking you if there's a first or last place. Jiu Yuana stared at Lu Yuan with a scorching gaze. Well, I'm also a human. I'm not a machine, so. Lu Yuan scratched his head and wanted to say something, but stopped himself. So there's still a first or last place. Jiu Yuana pursed her lips as she spoke. Lu Yuan smiled awkwardly and didn't reply. Jiu Yuana snorted softly when she saw Lu Yuan's awkward smile. She said in a coquettish voice, I can't be bothered to talk about these unhappy things. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving until you've accompanied me for 2 months. Even though I'm not the one you love the most, your first child must be with me. Lu Yuan, sister Na, you're so cool. Wang Qiu'er cheered. Indeed domineering. Xiao Lan's eyes widened. This was the first time she had seen someone who dared to speak to Lu Yuan in such a tone. Sometimes, confidence came from strength. Lu Yuan wasn't as strong as Lu Yuan, so if she didn't want to let Lu Yuan go, he wouldn't be able to. Na, you seem to have changed a little. Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana with a strange expression. How have I changed? Jiu Yuana asked. You've become even more beautiful. Lu Yuan said with a smile. Don't think that you'll be able to convince me just because you say nice things. I won't buy it. You have to stay with me for 2 months. Don't even think about leaving if you miss one day. Jiu Yuana snorted, her attitude was very tough. Yes. I'll accompany you. I'll accompany you for 3 months, let alone 2 months. I'm really defeated by you. You only know how to use your strength to suppress me. Lu Yuan shrugged and said helplessly. That's because I'm stronger than you. Jiu Yuana raised her head and said, also, you said 3 months. I'll remember it. Don't go back on your word. Of course I'll go back on my word. I'm the one who's happy with you. Why would I go back on my word? Lu Yuan said softly, and a mischievous smile appeared on his face. Jiu Yuana's face immediately blushed when she heard this. Her jade-like cheeks blushed, and it was a very moving sight. Sister Na is so beautiful. Xiao Lan's eyes widened as she praised. Her silver hair danced in the wind, her purple eyes were filled with mystery and nobility, and her nose was tall and exquisite. Coupled with the blush on her face, Jiu Yuana was indeed extremely beautiful. Hehe, Sister Na is the most beautiful. Wang Qiu'er giggled and looked proud. Among Lu Yuan's women, she had the best relationship with Jiu Yuana, followed by Ning Rongrong. She would also feel happy when someone praised Jiu Yuana. Indeed, Na is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. I'm lucky to have Na's love, Lu Yuan said with a sincere expression. Then why did you open a harem? Jiu Yuana was delighted when she heard Lu Yuan's praise. Then, she seemed to have thought of something and said faintly. Lu Yuan's face fell as soon as he heard those words. That was a huge blow to him. He really wanted to say that it wasn't him who wanted to open a harem, but someone else wanted him to. However, he felt that Jiu Yuana wouldn't believe him. Cough cough, it seems like I've messed up something. Carrot Wang Qiu'er and the others laughed when they saw Lu Yuan's face fall and that he had nothing to say. However, their voices were very soft, except for a certain rabbit. She laughed very happily, and instantly attracted Lu Yuan's attention. Is it that funny? Little rabbit? Lu Yuan glanced at Xiao Wu and asked faintly. Haha, of course it's funny. Your speechless look is too funny. Xiao Wu laughed, and her laughter was very crisp. Lu Yuan's face darkened when he saw this. Since when did this little rabbit dare to be so impudent? Does she really think that she's awesome just because she's a 100,000-year gangster rabbit? Sister Xiao Wu, stop laughing. The sky azure bull python was frightened when he saw Lu Yuan's face darken. It wasn't that he was timid, but that Lu Yuan, Jiu Yuana, and the others had too high a status. It and Xiao Wu had the lowest status here. However, Xiao Wu had taken the initiative to cause trouble. If Lu Yuan wanted to settle the score, it would be a big problem. The hierarchy between soul beasts was much stricter than that of humans. Just like Jiu Yuana, Lu Yuan was now the highest leader of the soul beasts. This was something that Jiu Yuana had personally instructed him to do, and it was also the origin of his title. Xiao Wu's provocation would be fine if Lu Yuan didn't take it to heart, but if he did, he would probably be skinned alive. Why can't I laugh? It's so funny, why can't I laugh? Xiao Wu pouted. She still remembered clearly how Lu Yuan had called her a gangster bunny and how she would lead Wang Qiu'er astray. This was a rare opportunity to mock her. Wouldn't he let her laugh a little more? Jiu Yuana frowned when she heard Xiao Wu's words, and a fierce look flashed across her purple eyes. She gently raised her hand, and energy gathered. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her hand, and she looked up to see Lu Yuan shaking his head at her. She was disrespectful to you, and offending a superior is a crime punishable by death. Jiu Yuana transmitted her voice, and there was a hint of anger in her voice. She could joke with Lu Yuan, and it was fine for Wang Qiu'er and the others to laugh. After all, they were all family. However, Xiao Wu was just a 100,000-year soft bone rabbit, and she dared to mock Lu Yuan. She was courting death. It shouldn't be that serious. Besides, she's also a soul beast, and she's from the same race as you. She's quite pitiful, so let her go, Lu Yuan transmitted his voice. Since she's a soul beast, then she deserves to die. I've said that I won't allow any soul beast to disrespect you. Jiu Yuana's voice was calm, but it was very firm. Chapter 979. Lu Yuan's heart warmed slightly when he heard Jiu Yuana's resolute words. He didn't expect Jiu Yuana to go to such an extent for him. He was really touched. However, Lu Yuan still insisted on his own way of thinking. It would be too cruel to kill Xiao Wu just like that. To be honest, Xiao Wu was so pitiful. She could only stay in the forest, and that had something to do with him. It would be too much to kill her just because she laughed a little. Furthermore, even though he called her a gangster rabbit, he still treated Xiao Wu as a friend. Forget it. She's still alive. Furthermore, even though this little rabbit is a little jumpy, she has a good heart. Perhaps she threw a tantrum because I called her a gangster rabbit and said that she led Chioa astray. She just wanted to vent her anger. She doesn't have any ill intentions. Just teach her a lesson. There's no need to kill her. Don't be so murderous. Lu Yuan held Jiu Yuana's hand and looked straight into her eyes as he spoke gently. I'm murderous. Jiu Yuana sized up Lu Yuan and suddenly laughed coldly. She transmitted her voice to him. You're trying so hard to explain why I shouldn't kill her. Don't tell me your old habits are acting up again. You're really something, Lu Yuan. She was venting her anger for him, but this fellow was still pleading for mercy. To be honest, Jiu Yuana wasn't very happy. I'll take a liking to her. She's a rabbit. A rabbit. Do you think I'll take a liking to a rabbit? Lu Yuan transmitted his voice unhappily. That's hard to say. Maybe you're so hungry that you can't be picky. Furthermore, dragons don't seem to be picky about any species. Jiu Yuana said plainly. There were very few purebred true dragons on the continent, but there were many semi-dragons, mixed blood dragons, and soul beasts with dragon bloodlines. It was easy to understand where these soul beasts came from. Who said I'm not picky? I'm picky. Apart from you, which of my girlfriends is cross-species? I only picked you. Lu Yuan retorted. So you really don't have any thoughts about this rabbit? Think about it carefully before you speak. If you have feelings for her, I'll spare her since you like her. After all, I don't want to see you angry. But if you don't like her, then kill her. She deserves to die for being disrespectful to you. Jiu Yuana said with a smile. All right, don't test me. I really don't have any thoughts about her. I just can't bear to see her die because we're friends. I don't have so many crooked thoughts. Besides, with a beauty like you by my side, all my thoughts are only on you. Lu Yuan said gently. Really? Jiu Yuana asked. It can't be any more real. Lu Yuan nodded. Then I'll reluctantly believe you. Jiu Yuana smiled gently. She was quite satisfied with Lu Yuan's answer. What are you going to do with this little rabbit? Jiu Yuana asked softly. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she had already dispelled the idea of killing. Teach her a good lesson. Teaching a gangster rabbit a lesson or something, I'm quite interested. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and walked over to Xiao Wu. Seeing Lu Yuan walk over, Xiao Wu immediately stopped laughing. Just now, she was laughing quite happily and didn't think too much. Now that Lu Yuan was walking over, she was a little scared. Although she was crazy, Lu Yuan's identity was different after all. Moreover, as Lu Yuan got closer, a terrifying pressure slowly pressed down on her body, causing her to tremble slightly. What do you want? Xiao Wu looked at Lu Yuan with wide eyes and asked with a little panic. What do you think? Lu Yuan smiled lightly and asked back. Soon, Lu Yuan was less than 3 meters away from Xiao Wu. The pressure of the bloodline of the 5-clawed golden dragon king naturally seeped out from his body, and Xiao Wu was trembling with fear. Her face was pale, and she was trembling with fear again. Your Excellency. The sky azure bull python looked at Lu Yuan and Xiao Wu's pale face, and it wanted to say something, but it was cut off by Lu Yuan before it could finish. This is none of your business. Go away. Lu Yuan casually pressed a hand down, and a huge burst of invisible power pressed down on the sky azure bull python. It struggled to no avail. What a pitiful bootlicker. Lu Yuan shook his head internally. The sky azure bull python was once the emperor of the forest, and it was one of the most powerful soul beasts below the great beasts, yet it had to be a bootlicker. It would be fine if you could lick her, but this little rabbit clearly wasn't interested in you at all. What's the point of licking someone who can't even be licked? Or has it become a habit of licking her for too long? Perhaps that's the case, Lu Yuan thought to himself. However, Lu Yuan only thought about it for a moment before he stepped forward again, and he quickly arrived in front of Xiao Wu. Don't come any closer. Xiao Wu was completely immobilized by the pressure, and she could only yell out, "I'm going to come closer. Little rabbit, are you scared now?" Lu Yuan stood in front of Xiao Wu and gently pinched her cheek with his right hand. He exerted a little force, and Xiao Wu's expression immediately changed as she let loose a cry of pain. "It hurts." Xiao Wu pouted as tears welled up in her eyes. "Does it hurt a lot?" Lu Yuan chuckled softly, but his left hand also pinched Xiao Wu's other cheek, gently pulling it with both hands. Xiao Wu's face was quite elastic, and it felt quite good to pinch. Lu Yuan pulled left and right, and he had a lot of fun. However, while Lu Yuan was having fun, Xiao Wu was in a lot of pain. The tears in her big eyes were about to fall down. She whimpered and looked at Lu Yuan with an aggrieved expression. "Little rabbit, do you still dare to laugh at me in the future, Looking at Xiao Wu's aggrieved expression, Lu Yuan was amused. After so many years, this little rabbit had grown up quite a bit, but she was still as cute as before. "I don't dare anymore." Xiao Wu's cheeks were being pulled, and her voice was unclear. Although she was very unhappy with Lu Yuan's bad behavior, she still chose to follow her heart when faced with the torture and the pressure that made her body and mind tremble. "I'll only laugh at him in my heart in the future," Xiao Wu thought to herself. Then, she scolded Lu Yuan. "You really don't dare anymore? Why do I feel like you're scolding me in your heart?" With Lu Yuan's eyesight, how could he not know what Xiao Wu was thinking? He immediately increased the strength in his hand, and Xiao Wu immediately cried out in pain. She grabbed Lu Yuan's hand with her two little hands, and her eyes were full of begging for mercy. This time, she really didn't dare to have any other thoughts. Facing Lu Yuan, she finally knew fear. Chapter 980. Xiao Wu stared at Lu Yuan with her big eyes as she pleaded, "Ouch, stop pinching. It hurts. I really don't dare to scold you anymore." "You really don't dare to? Or what if you scold me in your heart after I let go of you? I can't keep an eye on you all the time." Lu Yuan looked at Xiao Wu with a half-smile, but he stopped what he was doing. Xiao Wu shook her head like a rattledrum as she said, "Xiao Wu won't do that. Xiao Wu is very obedient. Xiao Wu won't scold you." "Obedient?" Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. "Don't you know whether you're obedient or not? It's not my first day knowing you. You've caused a lot of trouble in the past. Now you're telling me that you're obedient. Do you think I'm stupid?" Lu Yuan was amused as he said this. After that, he pinched Xiao Wu's cheeks again. "Ouch!" Xiao Wu cried out in pain. She looked at Lu Yuan with an aggrieved expression and said, "Xiao Wu is really obedient now. Xiao Wu hasn't caused any trouble." "Really?" Lu Yuan glanced at the sky azure ball python. "Your Honor, it's true. Sister Xiao Wu hasn't caused any trouble for a long time," the sky azure ball python said. "Is that so, Qiu-er?" Lu Yuan turned to Wang Qiu-er. "Yes, Sister Xiao Wu hasn't caused any trouble recently. I don't know what happened to her, but she's become a lot more obedient," Wang Qiu-er said. "It seems like you've become more obedient. However, your personality hasn't changed. You even dare to mock me." After hearing Wang Qiu-er's words, Lu Yuan believed her. However, he couldn't help but pinch her cheeks again when he thought about what had just happened. "I won't do it again in the future," Xiao Wu said softly. "You still want to have a future?" Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and raised his voice. "There won't be a future, there won't be a future." Xiao Wu hurriedly shook her head. She looked a little nervous. Seeing Xiao Wu's appearance, Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh. This little rabbit's frightened appearance was quite interesting. Lu Yuan pinched Xiao Wu's cheeks again and looked straight into her eyes. "I'll let it go this time. Let's stop here. You have to be more obedient in the future, okay?" "Yes, yes." Xiao Wu nodded. "Don't be that gangster bunny from before. You've grown up. Even if we don't talk about your 100,000 years of cultivation, you're almost 19 years old like me after transforming into your human form. You're a big girl now, and you should be more sensible. Try to learn to be more ladylike in the future. Once you've matured, You'll have to step into the human world again sooner or later. You don't really want to stay in the Great Douluo Forest's core region forever, do you? Lu Yuan said gently. Xiao Wu lowered her head and was silent for a moment. Then, she said, Xiao Wu doesn't want to go out. The humans outside are too evil. They only want Xiao Wu's soul ring and soul bone. Xiao Wu's expression was a little sorrowful. It was obvious that she had suffered a huge blow. It'll be fine if you hide better in the future. Furthermore, you can accompany Qiu and the rest when you go out. I have a lot of influence outside. If you stay with Qiu and the rest, no one can hurt you. You can't always stay cooped up in the forest. Furthermore, you've already transformed into a human. Once you reach your matured stage, you'll be no different from a human except for your soul bone. No one can tell your true form, so you don't have to worry so much. Lu Yuan said gently. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Xiao Wu's expression changed slightly. She seemed to be deep in thought. You really don't want to go out? Don't you miss the good food and pretty clothes outside? Lu Yuan's eyes turned as he laughed softly. After hearing this, Xiao Wu's eyes lit up. They were dazzling, and there was a look of longing on her face. It seems like you want to go out again. Lu Yuan smiled. He hit the nail on the head. Xiao Wu could never get over good food and pretty clothes. Xiao Wu pursed her lips slightly when she heard this. She was a little embarrassed. Lu Yuan had said so much, but she didn't agree to go out. It wasn't as good as pretty clothes. She was moved just by the mention of it. All right, you don't have to be embarrassed. It's not a shameful thing to like these things. Isn't it normal for girls to like pretty clothes? That's why you should stay here and cultivate. At the same time, you should change your gangster rabbit personality. Don't be so crazy in front of people. This personality won't work. After all, not everyone will be as accommodating as the Sky Azure Ball Python. It won't work if you still have this personality when you're in the human world. Furthermore, Qiu and Xiaolan will be staying in the Great Douluo Forest for a long time. You're both soul beasts in human form, and you're older than them. You're their elder sister, so you have to set a good example for them. Do you understand? Got it. Xiao Wu replied and nodded her little head obediently. That's a good girl. Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. He let go of Xiao Wu's cheeks and patted her head gently with a smile on his face. When he was young, he was too vicious. He made arrangements for Xiao Wu to be trapped in the forest. He didn't think much of it back then, but now that he thought about it, Xiao Wu was innocent. She didn't do anything wrong, so Lu Yuan felt a little apologetic. The Great Douluo Forest was the same. The scenery was beautiful, but it was monotonous. How could it compare to the splendor of the human world? Rather than letting Xiao Wu grow old alone in the forest, it was better for her to go out and get some fresh air. As for danger, he controlled the Dragon King Palace and the Martial Soul Palace. Protecting a little rabbit wasn't a problem for him. Lu Yuan withdrew his hand from Xiao Wu's head and smiled faintly. He walked in the direction of Jiyu Yuana and Wang Qiu. On the other hand, Xiao Wu's eyes were wide open as they sparkled. Lu Yuan's words still had quite a bit of impact on her. You had a lot of fun just now. Did it feel good to pinch that rabbit's cheeks? Jiyu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan with a scrutinizing look in her eyes. She seemed to be smiling, but she wasn't smiling. It's so weird. It doesn't feel as good as pinching your cheeks. They're white and tender, and smooth to the touch. It's like I can squeeze water out of them. Lu Yuan hugged Jiyu Yuana and pinched her cheeks gently with one hand. You're so talkative. Jiyu Yuana rolled her eyes at Lu Yuan. However, her body was very honest. She lay quietly in Lu Yuan's arms and didn't move. The two of them hugged gently. Wang Qiu and Xiao Lan looked at the two of them, and their eyes rolled around. They were very cute. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the sky. Frightening energy undulations spread in the sky. The energy released a frightening pressure. Apart from Lu Yuan and Jiyu Yuana, everyone's expressions changed. This battle was at the level of a demigod. Di Tian, who's the other one? Jiu Yuana asked softly. There was a doubtful look in her eyes. That's the deep-sea devil whale king, a transcendent soul beast that's close to 1,000,000 years old. Lu Yuan said plainly. Chapter 981. Why are they fighting? It can't be you, right? Jiu Yuana glanced at Lu Yuan and asked suspiciously. Who else could it be other than me? Lu Yuan was honest and admitted it directly. What are you up to now? Jiu Yuana asked curiously. Nothing. Lu Yuan shook his head and said. Do you think I'll believe you? Jiu Yuana glared at Lu Yuan and moved in front of Lu Yuan. Her purple eyes stared into his eyes. Tell me, you want to hide it from me? Lu Yuan blinked and said softly, it's really nothing. I just want to find a chance to beat Di Tian up. Then, Lu Yuan told Jiu Yuana his thoughts. Jiu Yuana looked at him with amusement. You really hold a grudge. You actually want to beat Di Tian up. What else can I do? If I don't beat Di Tian up, I'll beat you up. I can't bear to do it, but I won't feel good if I don't vent my anger. I can only beat Di Tian up. Although you gave the order, he was the one who did it. It's not wrong for him to take the blame. Lu Yuan said indifferently. You're right. Jiu Yuana nodded in agreement. She didn't want to be beaten up, but she couldn't not vent her anger on Lu Yuan. There was nothing wrong with letting Di Tian take the blame. Regarding this point, Jiu Yuana's thoughts and Lu Yuan's were surprisingly in agreement. However, the pitiful Di Tian didn't know anything. He was still fighting bitterly. Who do you think will win? Jiu Yuana asked curiously. Di Tian, I think. He should be slightly better. After all, the deep-sea demon whale king is injured and has lost an arm. It has a huge impact on his strength. Lu Yuan said seriously. You did it? Jiu Yuana asked. En. Lu Yuan nodded lightly and said, he wanted to eat me, but I killed him instead. Want to eat you? Damn it. Jiu Yuana's eyes suddenly flashed with a fierce light, and her killing intent surged. It's fine, it's already over, and he's going to die soon. I want him to be a sacrifice for Dong-er. Lu Yuan said softly. Sacrifice? If it were me, I would have consigned him to eternal damnation and obliterated his body and soul. He wants to eat you? He's really courting death. Jiu Yuana spoke softly, and her killing intent overflowed. Her protective nature was undoubtedly revealed. Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Jiu Yuana gently on the lips. He hugged her tighter. How could he not love Jiu Yuana when she was like this? I'm doing this for Xiao Lan's sake. Otherwise, he would have died a long time ago, Lu Yuan said gently. Little Blue. She is indeed a very good girl. She is very pure and kind. She is quite likable. Jiu Yuana said softly. I think so too. Lu Yuan smiled, and his smile was warm and bright. In the air, the sound of energy explosions continued to sound, and it had already attracted the attention of many fierce beasts. Bai Ji, Violet Princess, Scarlet King, and the others rushed over. After bowing to Lu Yuan and Jiu Yuana, they began to pay attention to the battle in the sky. To them, it was very rare for them to see such a battle. Furthermore, all of them were very curious as to who could fight with Di Tian to such an extent. Dragon God's Claw. In the air, Di Tian roared. The black dragon claw emitted a deep light, and there was a 9-colored light flashing. An extremely terrifying aura condensed on Di Tian's dragon claw. Suddenly, Di Tian's aura skyrocketed, and he instantly rose to an extremely high level. Seeing this scene, the deep-sea magic whale king's expression changed. However, with Lu Yuan's death order, he did not dare to retreat. The purple divine armor on his body shone brightly, and boundless lightning energy began to erupt. In the air, with the deep-sea magic whale king as the center, a terrifying lightning domain was formed. It was filled with explosive lightning energy. Interesting. Is he going to decide the victor in one strike? Lu Yuan's lips curled up as he said with interest. With the power of the Dragon God's Claw, Although that lightning domain looks fierce, it will definitely not be able to block it. Gu Yuana said indifferently. No one knew the power of the dragon god's claw better than her. No matter how strong the dragon god's claw is, it can't compare to the true dragon claw. If Di Tian uses the true dragon claw, the deep-sea magic whale king will die with this strike. Lu Yuan said in a deep voice. Indeed. Gu Yuana nodded her head, expressing her approval. She also knew the true dragon claw, so she naturally knew that the power of the true dragon claw was far above the dragon god's claw. With her current strength, using the true dragon claw, she could challenge any god king of the divine world and not lose. In addition to the esoteric character, in a one-on-one battle, even the Azura god with the strongest attack in the divine world would be defeated by her. It could be said that the current Gu Yuana was much stronger than before. Originally, her strength had just entered the god king realm, and she might not be a match for the weakest of the 5 god kings, the life goddess. But now, her overall strength could defeat any god king of the divine world. If they were to attack the divine world in the future, Gu Yuana would definitely be an indispensable battle force. The deep-sea magic whale king is going to lose, Lu Yuan said softly, and his eyes flickered. In mid-air, the dragon god's claw, which was shining with 9-colored radiance, fiercely collided with the deep-sea demon whale king's lightning domain. Suddenly, an earth-shaking explosion sounded. The endless lightning domain collapsed, turning into a gorgeous blue-purple lightning rain that sprinkled down from the sky. Terrifying energy fluctuations swept out, and the entire sky was dyed blue-purple. That terrifying power could be felt even from the ground, as a formless energy hurricane attacked. Beside the Lake of Life, Lu Yuan released his energy to protect Wang Qiu'er and Xiao Lan. However, the others were not so lucky. Lan Yang and the others' bodies sank, and the Scarlet King and the other wild beast's soul power surged as they tried their best to resist. The Sky Azure Bull Python's head was pressed to the ground, and the most pitiful was Xiao Wu. Her face was deathly pale, and she was pressed to the ground. She blinked her big eyes, and her pearly white teeth bit her red lips, looking very pitiful. Lu Yuan shook his head slightly, and his palm sucked in the air, pulling Xiao Wu's body into his protective range. Thank you. Xiao Wu looked at Lu Yuan gratefully and thanked him. You're welcome. It's nothing. Lu Yuan wiped the dust off Xiao Wu's face and said, cultivate well in the future. You're really too weak now. Xiao Wu had just reached rank 60, and she was almost 19 years old. She hadn't consumed any immortal herbs, and Xiao Wu's talent could be said to be quite good. However, in front of these top-tier powerhouses, rank 60 was far from enough. I know. I'll cultivate well. Xiao Wu nodded her little head and said seriously. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded slightly and turned around. 2 streaks of light fell from the sky and landed on the ground, causing the entire earth to tremble. 2 huge craters appeared where they landed. These 2 craters naturally contained Di Tian and the deep-sea demon whale king. Although Di Tian had won this battle, it was clearly a Pyrrhic victory. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.